Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Trying to find my glasses so best friend don't yell nothing on y'all. They should connect in just a second. How is everybody this morning? How are y'all feeling after day one? Anybody else feeling like 97%? Tracey, I just like, oh goodness. Yeah, the subscriptions are only active over on Twitch. Good morning. And speaking of Twitch, we are going to do the Julio Fulio part 2 on Twitch only. Okay. Still going to do recaps, but as far as live broadcasting, I'm trying to get deep down in my spirit and think about it, because I've had a couple of people who are a little older or don't leave certain platforms, so they ain't got no tickety talk, okay? And they are like, well, why don't you just make a open page on Facebook and just run your trials there and post clips there, which I guess I could, but it involves me having to create another page. And having multiple pages on Facebook just don't sound fun. But also my personal page is private because I've had it since you had to have like a .edu email. So I don't think y'all need to know me like that during my club days, okay? Because I be sharing my memories. Honey, hang over at work with the wristband still on, just calculating how many hours of sleep I might get if I leave right now. My college days, Jesus. I had a time, though. I had a time, and I shared those memories, but I don't think y'all want to know me like that. Keisha said, now you know we don't judge, but Keisha. Y'all, there used to be this club that everybody went to back in the day. It was in downtown Columbus. It was called Major Woody's, okay? And this is like back in the day when they used to have an 18 and up. And if you was 21 and up, you had to be 18 to get in, of course, 21 to partake. And then people who were 21 got a wristband. So that's how they knew who they could serve, right? Baby. How about that was my first gig? I did an Uncle Luke's Freak Fest. I did background then. Yeah, I think I just said I was gonna start putting up some of those pictures. I did a lot of background dancing and it was pretty fun. A little disappointing, but it was pretty fun. But I only got to do it because I have an uncle who was really big in Florida at the time. And so I was only allowed to be with him. So I know this is gonna sound old, but he managed Quad City DJs, the 69 Boys, what was it? The one that made My Boo, all those acts at that time. So anything that was going on in Florida, he and my mama was there, okay? But I think I am going to start posting some of those things, some places, some of me in my dance era, some of me in my, I have a lot of good photos. A lot of good photos. I wish they were videos. I wish I had videos of some of it. I do know somebody has a video of my first halftime show in college, which is so special to me, not only because I made it, but because we danced to my favorite song in the world by my favorite person in the world. And I just felt like that meant it was meant to be. We danced to Baby Tonight by Whitney Houston. And that was my first field show at Central State. Listen, Nippy, I love me some Whitney Houston, and I'm not even gonna lie to you. Minus the crack, I just think, what would Whitney do? What will Whitney do? Because Whitney, I'm telling you, Whitney, the way Whitney handled every situation was about right, except for the shit she did in private. But everything you actually seen her do, she handled it correctly. Ask me if I smoke crack and I know I do it. I'm gonna ask you for a receipt. Try me. You got a receipt? Crack is whack. Crack is cheap. Make too much money to ever smoke crack. Okay? Whitney did not play with them people. Whitney said all that stuff for her business. Wendy put all that stuff out there, said her business. Whitney knew good and well that shit was true. What she do? Call and check that heifer? Who you talking to?
Court is now in session. Judge Roger Griffin presiding.
You know me? The jersey came out of Nippy every. Listen, Laura, I'm telling you, if I took Nippy for Halloween, it would happen. Okay. I was about Nippy the way Tiffany was about Michael Jackson. Okay. Oh, goodness. I put the recaps up. You said you just laugh. Listen, Nippy. That's my stuff. That was reality TV. I really believe Whitney Houston and 3 6 Mafia is the reason why they script reality TV today, because it got too real. And they didn't know what the hell to do with it. And by the time they caught it, it was already on TV. It was there was nothing they could do with it. There was nothing they can do with it. Also, I don't know if y'all remember when Luke had that was one of my favorite ones too. Luke's reality TV show when he was about to get married. And that lady, was she a teacher? Whatever she was nothing nowhere near what you think Luther Campbell would be bringing home. And she had to take Uncle Luke, kept coming home to her parents. And they was real Bridgerton, okay? And that man went and sat down. Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all something. Uncle Luke, you remember that, CC? Uncle Luke, they had a beautiful room with a white piano in it, and you could tell they already had like a reservation, like, oh shit, him. Uncle Luke sat down and just started playing. Dang, mom, listen, start playing this piano beautifully. Okay, they had to take a look. They stopped back and look at him like, dang, and you could tell they was judging him, but then they was judging themselves real quick. Like, dang, we kind of, And then Luther Campbell looped. He stood up, said, "Oh, you hoes over there, take it all off. When the hoes on the ride, take it all off." When I say I stood up on my feet to a piano, let me tell y'all something. Give Luther Campbell his show back. Give it back. Give it back. Real TV me, please. Adventures of Hollywood. These people now talking about getting flued out. 3 6 Mafia had a Grammy and was putting people on the Greyhound bus. Now, my Tracey, you know they was. The Major Woodies apparently was recording. Real quick. Major Woodies, as I was saying earlier, was recording the entire club nights every night. So there's a public access channel in Columbus, Ohio, and they are currently playing all of the club nights in the middle of the night from like 06 to 08. It is very nostalgic. The only problem is my mama was up late night and called Tiffany in the middle of the night like, "I know this ain't your narrow ass cross my TV screen." They didn't call Tiffany, y'all. Clubbing. I love that. A daily prayer from Matthew Restelli.
Your Honor, the issue with Mr. Williams, we're just texting with him right now at his available times. Looks like he's available at 10:30 and midday.
I understand you've got 3 short witnesses. Do you want to do them right at midday at noon?
No, you ain't.
10:30? Which one?
Let's do the 10:30 break.
10:30 break. That should probably give us our 3 witnesses and finishing up with Ms. Restelli.
After
Would
that.
put it about right then.
All right, let's plan on about 10:30 then for Mr. Williams.
All right.
So Mr. Brown, so Mr. Mike Brown in the back. So we're not going to call Ms. Restelli till 10:30. So you're welcome to
No.
stay and go.
Probably 9:30.
You think?
Probably, maybe even quicker than that, honestly.
All right.
Well, why don't you just put it back on the stand?
All right. With that in mind, then let's bring in the jury. Counsel, do you have any of your
Already
witnesses in
what?
the courtroom? We do have the exclusionary rule.
8:30 there? No, come on, Mia, bring that heifer back. That wench, she had me in my, it took me everything in my power not to make a video and just curse her out the way I
Out
want
there and wait.
in the name of Matthew's mama. 'Cause
Okay, don't sit there. Go sit in. Are you a translator?
Oh, your law in motion.
that was a figure. She missed it. She wasn't picking up what he was putting down quick.
Now I know.
I'm
so
confused.
confused.
Everybody is so confused.
The whole courtroom's like, what's going on?
Wasn't picking it up.
Is that hot in here, Counsel? I'm gonna
Let's go make sure it's picking it up. Let's make sure Dallas is picking up his spoon and putting something in his, putting cereal in his mouth and not on that tablet. 1 second.
Great question. I think they hit traffic too. Yeah. So first witness would be, sorry. So we have, I want to call 36 and messages are 37. I expected no, but thank you.
Yeah, Tracey and I talked about foundation.
All rise for the jury.
Thank you. Please be seated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Thank you for being here on time today. A couple of housekeeping matters. Some of you have indicated, one of you actually did bring your computer to work, so to speak, today. You're welcome to use any electronic devices in the jury room during breaks, subject to my admonitions about doing research about the case, using social media about the case. Any of that type of behavior would be inappropriate and shouldn't occur at all. Just remember, though, that your primary responsibility is for this trial, so don't focus in on what's going on there, focus in on this. When you go back to deliberate, those devices shouldn't be used at all until you've completed your deliberations, so just keep that in mind as well. The other matter is, the attorneys have asked me to take 3 short witnesses out of order before we continue with Ms. Restelli. There's 3 neighbors that have some conflicts, so we're going to bring them in, do their testimony quick, and then we'll go back and finish with Ms. Restelli. That in mind, I'll turn the time over. Who's going to handle that? Is that you, Mr. Pollard?
It is, Judge. Thank you. The state calls Caitlin Laney.
Good morning, Ms. Laney. If you come stand in front of me, I'll swear you in. Raise your right hand right there. Works. Do you swear or affirm under the laws of the state of Utah and penalty of perjury that the testimony in this matter can be able to true and correct so help you God? Okay, you can have a seat up there. If you spit out your gun so you don't shoot through that, make it difficult to understand you, that'd be helpful. I know you've testified before, but please keep in mind to let the attorneys finish asking the question before you respond. Please give them a direct response. We don't need long answers. Short yes or no, that's appropriate. It's just.
Okay.
You the one that spoiled the plan. So good job.
We don't
Yes.
need video recorders. Just keep that in mind. Thank you. Mr. Pomeroy.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Laney, would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm Caitlin Laney,
And for the recording, how do you spell Laney?
Laney.
And what would you like to call us? What would you like us to call you today?
Caitlin's fine.
Thank you, Caitlin. Now, Caitlin, where did you live in the summer of 2024?
In Haymaker.
Okay, and where is Haymaker?
It's in American Fork.
And you say Haymaker, is that the name of a community?
Yes.
And what type of community was it?
It's a townhome community.
Okay, was it gated, not gated?
It was gated.
There's a bit of a scheduling conflict, so they're going to do these neighbors real quick, and then they'll get back to that range.
And did you have a neighbor by the name of Tracey Grist?
Yes.
Okay. Now you called these townhomes and she was your neighbor, but what exactly was the situation? Was it duplex, triplex, detached homes?
I think it was a triplex.
Okay. And so were you in the same triplex with Tracey?
Yes.
And do you recall who else lived in the home with Tracey?
She had 3 of her kids. It was Rory, Kevin, and I'm blanking on her other son's name right now.
Would Jake or Jacob sound
Jake,
correct?
yes. Yeah.
Okay. And Kevin, would that be Kevin Ellis?
Yes.
Okay. And you yourself, who did you live with?
I lived with my husband, Brent, and our 2 kids.
Now, did you speak to Tracey often?
Sometimes, like, we were neighborly.
Conversations in passing then?
Yeah, I would see her outside, gardening. Our garages were next to each other, so sometimes coming in and out. She and Rory, they watched our dog for us a couple of times when we went out of town. She's the one who gave me my garage code.
And you said that you shared, or the garages were next door and it was a triplex. So I assume you shared some sort of walls with Ms. Grist?
Yes, I think our condo was partially above like their garage. Our wall going up our stairs we shared, and like kitchen, that kind of side of the house.
Would you generally hear very much noise from their apartment?
No, occasionally in my laundry room, I could hear people, and then her garage door, it was a really like hard to close, I guess, so it would slam a lot.
Okay. Based off your description, is it fair to say just because of that layout, you didn't hear many noises other than what you just described?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that this was a gated community. Would you consider it a safe community?
Yes.
And then one last question about the housing situation. Did you ever notice whether Tracey would use a screen door of some sort on her front door?
Yes, it was like one of those ones you can walk through, that like would keep bugs out in the summer.
And was it normally there during the summer?
Yes.
All right, let's move to a different topic. Do you remember calling 911 sometime during the summer of 2024?
Yes.
Do you remember the date?
I don't off the top of my head.
If I suggested that was July 12th, 2024, would that sound correct?
Yes.
Good
What
job.
was the reason you called 911?
I heard what I believe to be gunshots.
Okay. So what were you doing? Well, let me back up. Do you recall whether it was morning, day, nighttime, evening?
It was in the evening, around 10 o'clock.
Do you recall what you were doing in the evening before calling 911?
My husband and I were out in our living room watching movies with our kids.
And you said you heard some gunshots. Describe exactly what you recall hearing.
It was like 6 to 8 loud bangs.
Okay. Did you take any particular note of the rate of the bangs? And what I mean by that, were they quick succession? Was there pauses between?
They were pretty quick together. There might have been a brief pause between the last one, but it was quick.
So after hearing these gunshots, what did you do, if anything?
I first looked over to my husband because this is around 4th of July. And if anybody lives in Utah, they know like they're crazy for fireworks. So you hear fireworks pretty much between 4th of July and Pioneer Day. So it wasn't uncommon to hear them, especially on a weekend evening. So I looked over to my husband and I was just like, hey, was that fireworks? And he's a positive guy. So he's like, yeah, I think so. And I'm like, I don't think so. It sounded more like a bang, fireworks pop. And so I was like, I don't think so. So I had seen Tracey at the park a couple days before, and she had told us how her daughter, Kate, who had showed up about 3 weeks prior with the kids, was leaving an abusive marriage. And so when I heard the gunshots, what I thought was gunshots, I was worried. So after we talked for a little bit, I texted Tracey and just asked if they were okay.
Okay. So you texted Tracey to ask if she was okay, and we'll come back to that in more depth in a second. But do you recall about what time that was?
It's like 10:06 or 7.
Okay. And the text was up before or after you called 911?
I texted her right before, like a minute before, maybe I called 911.
Okay. And do you recall maybe just the amount of time between when you heard the gunshots and when you called 911?
Between a minute and 2 minutes. It was pretty quick.
And then lastly, did you look outside to see what was going on? Did you do anything else to kind of see what was going on before you texted and called?
I texted her. I got up and went to my kitchen counter and I texted her. And then I went and looked out our bedroom window. We could see in front of her garage. And sometimes her kids would come over on the weekend and people weren't supposed to park in front of the garages. The townhomes share driveways, but sometimes they would. So I checked for a car there, didn't see anything. And then I went to our bathroom window, which faces the streets, and it's a pretty small window. But I looked out the window and saw a truck running, and it looked like an older Ford. It looked like it was running, but the lights were on, like the flashers were on. And I noticed there was cardboard underneath it, which I thought was really weird. That was when I decided to call 911.
The truck was not a usual vehicle in the neighborhood.
No.
Your Honor, the state has identified the 911 call as Exhibit 36. The state now moves to admit Exhibit 36.
Any objection, Mr. Facebar?
No, Your Honor.
So admitted, thank you.
Permission to play for the jury?
Yes, please, thank you.
July 12, 2024, 22:09:42.
Oh, she called quick.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
112 South 920 East, my neighbors.
What city?
American Fork.
And the address one more time?
I'm at 112 South 920 East, it's my neighbors, but
What's the phone number
I
you're calling
think
on in case we're disconnected?
559-907-7484.
Okay, so the address is your home, it's your neighbors, and tell me exactly what's going on with them.
I'm pretty sure I just heard gunshots,
Good morning.
and there's a car with flashers. I know that her daughter just left her husband in California.
Okay,
But I tried getting a hold of her and I haven't heard anything, but
okay, and you said it's the neighbor's daughter is going through a divorce, or?
she left her husband.
Okay. In California?
Yeah,
Okay,
but there's a sketchy truck in front of her house and it sounded like gunshots.
okay, what kind of truck is that?
It looks like a Ford,
What color?
silver, older, got a lot of rust on it. I can't tell if the plates are California.
Okay,
Mhm.
and then, do you know what direction your neighbor's house is from your house?
I think she's 114.
Okay. At
I'm
114
gonna,
South?
yes,
Okay. And you're gonna what?
I'm gonna see if my husband can try calling her, but I don't know.
And you still see the truck outside? Are you
Yeah,
able to
from
see a
the-
license plate?
I really can't tell, like, I can see it from my bathroom,
Okay.
and it's dark outside, so I cannot tell it.
And the gunshot, was it one shot? Did you hear multiple?
It sounded like, what did it sound like to you? It sounded like I talked to you too. It sounded, I don't know, maybe 6?
6 shots?
I think, I don't know, I don't think it was fireworks.
Okay.
Where's your phone?
And do you know, was the husband still in California or?
I don't know. I don't know all the details.
Okay.
There's a sketchy looking truck in front of their house.
Okay, and you've never seen it before in the area?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to call her from my husband's phone, but
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna keep you on the line, keep me updated with that.
yeah, I'm gonna try to call her.
What's her name?
Maybe, her name is Tracey, her daughter's name is Katie.
Okay.
I'm gonna see if I can get a hold of her.
Hey, get some carbs
It didn't sound like fireworks.
Wait. up there. I'm doing nothing for your mama. You want me to drive
And
it?
what's your
What
name?
is the truck?
It's Caitlin.
With
Lane,
a C or a K?
with a K. I'm gonna call her right now.
Okay, yeah, let me know.
She didn't answer.
Okay. And what was your last name again, Caitlin?
It's Laney. It's Laney.
Laney? Okay. Do you have,
It looks like there's,
it looks like what?
it looks like there's cardboard under like the front of the truck, which seems kind of weird, but I don't know. My husband thinks it's only like gunshots too.
Okay. What's Tracy's phone number?
801-651-2695.
Okay. And we're getting an officer sent into that area now. If anything changes or escalates at all, just go ahead and give us a call right back. Okay, Caitlin?
Okay, there's a gate code. It's pound 1212, if you want to let the officer know.
Pound 1212.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on, Laney, get him
All right, we'll get them sent into that area.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Caitlin, do you see a binder in front of you?
Yes.
Could you please turn to tab 37? That's what's been marked as States Exhibit 37.
Okay.
Right,
Found it.
first page of those.
Yes.
Previously, you testified about texting Tracy. Are these those texts?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state moves into evidence Exhibit 37.
Any objection? So ordered, thank you.
May we publish?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's just zoom in on that first message if we could. Caitlin, would you please read the timestamp on that message?
10:08:33.
And please read the message.
Are you guys okay?
the text message you testified about, is this message?
Yes.
Okay, and that timestamp of 10:08:33, that's accurate to the time that you texted Tracey?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Now, these text messages weren't just texts on that night, they extend into the next day, is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you read a select few of these messages, okay?
Okay.
So the next thing I want you to do is turn the page to page 2. And if we could also move this to page 2. Thank you. And so Tracey didn't respond on the evening of the 12th. She started responding the morning of the 13th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to your, let's clarify one more thing. The green bubbles are from Tracey. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the blue bubbles are from you.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go to your first bubble on the 13th. What did you ask Tracey?
Was it your son-in-law?
Continue to the next message, please. And how does she respond?
Yes.
And then please read your next message to her.
A bullet went into our garage.
And how does she respond?
OMG.
Do you know what that stands for?
Oh my God.
Okay. Let's continue to the next message. And what did you say in response?
I said, oh man, just him, ?
And what was her response across the next 3 messages?
Yes. Excuse me. He had a knife. And my son, Kevin, shot him.
Okay. And that message, again, the time on that one was
Yeah, they shut their garage wall.
6:58 in the
a.m.
morning.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you to just skip forward to page 8.
Yeah, Wendy would never
Sorry. Let's go to page 9.
pass away from every situation. Wendy would never, honey.
The first green message from Tracey on this page. What's the time there?
7:02 a.m.
Okay, so this is just a few minutes after that prior text.
Yes.
So it's the same conversation.
Yes.
Okay. What did Tracey ask you?
What time did you call 911?
Okay. And then this next message,
As you-
this just appears to be out of order. You're responding to something previous in the conversation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So Tracey asked, what time did you call 911? And then her next message to you is what?
Did you call 911 or did another neighbor?
And what's her next message to you?
I was on the phone with 911 and they were there so fast.
And then let's read your last text message on this exhibit.
I called at 10:07, I think. We were in the living room watching a movie with the kids and I heard the shots and texted you. And then I saw the truck with Cali plates and called. I was on the phone with them when I called you.
Thank you. You can go ahead and put the exhibit aside now. Now, after this, did you ever speak with Tracey Grist about the shooting?
Yes.
When was it that you spoke with her?
Later that afternoon.
And was this a phone call, an in-person conversation, or something else?
It was in person.
Okay. Did she tell you what had happened the previous night?
She said that her son-in-law, sorry, I'm blanking on it, Matthew. She said that Matt, she called him Matt, had come into the house with a knife and that he was being erratic, and that he wanted to see Kate, and that she had told him that he was upstairs, and then he turned the corner to go upstairs and then Kevin shot him.
Did Tracey tell you where she was when this all happened?
She said she was in the kitchen by the fridge. I think she said she was sitting on the counter by the fridge.
There wasn't a
Yeah.
question. So,
That's fine, but let's just clarify that point is where I was going next. She was in the kitchen. Did she say specifically where she was in the kitchen?
Yes, on the counter by the fridge.
Okay.
Girl.
Did she, let's just be a little bit more detailed if you
Oh,
can, from your memory.
Wasn't it?
Did she specifically articulate
Heard be up here.
whether Matthew had a knife
And
and where
me
she
and my
saw it if he did?
And for what? It wasn't even for money.
If I remember correctly, she said she saw it when he was in the kitchen.
Okay. And did she make any comments about whether Matthew, you said you just testified that she told you Matthew was acting erratically. Did she give you more detail about that?
Not super like that. He just seemed agitated.
Okay. Did she make any statements about whether he had come in and was stationary or moving about the house or anything about that?
Yeah, not directly. I think she just said he had come in through the living room.
Okay. You remember testifying at the previous hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Judge, may I approach the witness?
Yes, thank you.
Don't read that out loud.
Good morning, babe.
So we have a transcript of one of the prior hearings. That section marked in blue, you can ignore everything else. Just please read that to yourself and not to the jury. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna come grab it from you. Did reading that refresh your memory of other things Tracey may have told you?
Yes.
Okay. And so that last point that I had asked about of her descriptions of what Matthew was doing, what do you remember now?
But he had walked in through the front door and went through the living room. And did you want me to explain the living room?
Maybe that would be helpful to the jury.
Okay.
What is the layout of that home?
Okay. So he walked in through the front door. When you walk into Tracey's door, if you go straight there, you go straight to the kitchen. But there's like a fireplace block just to the right. So if you walk in and go to the right, you're going to kind of go around this block. There's a dining room, kitchen's here. So front door's here, kitchen's here, living room's here. There's a block in the middle. So he, from what she told me, he walked in, walked around into the kitchen, saw her in the kitchen, asked her about Kate, and then had to go back around because the stairs are also off to the left. Like you're heading towards the stairs. When you walk in the door, there's an office door, a closet, and then there's the stairs to go upstairs.
Okay, thank you. I think that gives a good description of the home. And so you testified that she said Matthew had come in, he had come to the kitchen where she was and where she was sitting, and he had a knife. And that she had also told you that Kevin had at some point shot Matthew.
Yes.
Did she tell you where Kevin got the gun?
She said he had gotten it from the garage.
And where is the garage in relation to these rooms?
The garage from the front door would, in the living room, if you walk in and towards the kitchen, before you hit the kitchen, there's a hallway. You walk straight down the hallway and then the garage door would be there.
And did she say whose gun it was?
Hers.
Okay. And did she say whether she had it stored in any particular way?
She had it in a gun like case.
And did she show you that gun case?
Yes.
When she showed it to you, did she have to obtain it from any part of the house?
I think she grabbed it from the garage.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
Ross?
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi.
I just have a couple questions. Do you remember testifying before in a previous trial?
Yes.
And how long ago was that?
2 months.
2 months. Okay. And when you called 911, how long ago was that?
Almost 2 years.
2 years. And so you're relying on your memory as best you can, right?
Yes.
And when you described the home of Tracey, is that because you've been there? You've been in her home, or you've been in one exactly like it?
Yes, I've been in her home.
Her home. So when you open the front door, it swings, when I'm walking in, it swings left, right?
Yes.
I don't know how that will work. It swings left, right? But it swings left.
Yes.
Thank you. And when you first are in the doorway, you sort of have to make a decision on how you're going to continue into the house. Isn't that right?
Yes.
So the home is sort of built in a way to have an inviting area of a living room on your right side and then a hallway on your left side. Is that right?
Yes.
And so I think what you're describing is that when Matt, according to what Tracey had said, when Matt had came in, he had made the decision to go shift to the right to then have a chat with ended up being a chat with Tracey, right?
Yes.
But he could have gone left a little bit, like a dodge left or a dodge right. Is that a good way to describe that home?
Well, if he went the way that I remember her describing, he would have had to go right.
Yeah. And if he would have gone left, he would have like veered left and gone down the hallway toward the kitchen. Is that right?
It was more of like a straight shot, maybe
Okay.
slightly to the left, but it was more of a straight shot to the kitchen.
There's this wall, this obstruction wall, sort of right in front of you, that is where the fireplace is built in and provides this ambience for the living room, right?
Yes.
In your recollection of your conversation with Tracey, are there things that you might have forgotten?
Possibly.
You know, are there things that you're trying your best to remember?
Yes.
Would you say the same thing about during the trial 2 months ago, that the things you could have forgotten and things you're just trying to remember?
It's possible. Yeah.
You used the word agitated. Is that a word that you remember Tracey saying, or is that just a word you're trying to come up with to best describe what you recall?
I believe she said agitated, but I mean a similar word with the same meaning is
Sure.
possible.
Yeah, and I understand that. When Tracey and you talked about what happened, were you at her home when you were talking about it?
Yes, the next day.
Yeah, and she talked about Kevin having a gun, right?
Yes.
And then she showed you where the gun holder was.
Yes.
And did she tell you when Kevin got the gun?
I want to say when Matthew got there, I don't remember if it was when he saw him pull up or when he came into the house.
Do you remember whether she said either?
It would have been that day,
So she said he got it that day.
that evening.
He said he got it that evening. Do you remember her saying that? Or are you just trying your best to understand the story?
No, she did say that he went and got the gun after Matthew arrived. I don't remember if it was when he pulled up or if it was when he came into the home.
Okay. And this was how long after the shooting occurred?
This was the next afternoon.
So how long after the shooting occurred, do you think?
Um,
Shooting occurred around 10 p.m.
Yes,
Yeah. And so when were you having the conversation?
it was the next day around 1 or 2.
Okay, so about 12 hours later.
Yeah.
Okay. No further questions.
Any redirect?
30 seconds, Judge.
Thank you.
Yes, baby.
Oh, school's left.
School's left.
Yes.
You have a short day today, so you'll be home early today, right?
No further questions. Thanks, Judge.
Thank you, Ms. Lady.
And then you have
Please
Thursday,
call your next witness.
so 2 more.
State calls Brent Laney.
And then you can tell Dad if you want to go to Denver's dance.
I didn't know.
Okay. Just know.
Is Denver on still?
I told Denver to think about it too.
Good morning, Mr. Laney. If you'll come stand in front of me, I'll swear you in, right up here. Roughly in front of the easel. That's where it raise your right hand. You swear or affirm under the laws of the state of Utah on penalty of perjury that the testimony you give in this matter today will be true and correct, so help you God. Thank you. Have a seat up there, sir. While you're coming up, I know you've testified before. Just keep in mind the verbal responses. Wait for them to finish asking the question before you respond, and only respond directly to a question that's pending or been asked. You okay?
Yes.
Thank you. And then speak right into the mic so we can hear you.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Mr. Laney. Would you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
My name is Brent Laney.
Thank you. Mr. Laney, do you want us to call you Mr. Laney, Brent, or something else?
Brent will be fine.
Thanks. Brent, there was a person who testified just before you named Caitlin Laney. Do you know her?
Yes, that's my wife.
You live with her, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. And where did you two live in the summer of 2024?
Trying to remember the exact address.
We don't need the address. A city is fine, or the name of a community.
American Fork, Utah.
Okay. Was one of your neighbors in that community Tracey Grist
Yes.
and Kevin Ellis?
Yes.
Did you know them very well?
Not very well.
Okay. They were your neighbors. Did you speak to them often?
Occasionally, not very often.
Okay. And what was the situation there where your neighbors were? Like across the street, duplex, triplex? What was it?
It was like a townhome with kind of like 3 homes in one building. And so they were connected to the building that we were living in.
Okay. What type of community was it?
A gated community.
Was it a pretty safe community?
In general, it seemed like it was.
Do you remember an incident in July 2024 that resulted in Caitlin calling 911?
Yes, I do.
Why did she call 911?
We heard some noises. Initially, I assumed it might have been fireworks, but it sounded kind of like gunshots also.
Okay. How many noises did you hear?
I think about 4.
Okay. These noises, to your recollection, were they back to back, or was there a delay between them? What do you recall?
I remember, I believe it was like 2 or 3 real back to back to back with a brief pause, and I think another noise pretty quickly after.
Okay. And what were you doing when this all happened?
We were, my kids were getting sleepy. We were just watching movies with the kids, kind of waiting for them to fall asleep.
Okay. Do you recall what movie you were watching?
Some sort of Disney movie. I don't know.
Not Die Hard with gunshots, right?
No,
Okay.
nothing like that.
So the noises were definitely not from inside the home.
Correct.
Okay. Do you recall the exact time that you heard the gunshots or the noises?
I remember I was around 10:07, something around there.
And lastly, do you recall how much time elapsed between hearing those noises and Caitlin calling 911?
I feel like only a couple minutes. It was pretty quickly after.
Thank you. Nothing further, Judge.
Cross? Thank you, Mr. Laney. You may step down.
Thank you.
Judge, can we excuse both the Laneys from their subpoena?
Any objection, Mr. Facebar? Thank you. You and your wife are free to go. Thank you. Next.
State calls David Kruger. Are you ready?
Good morning, Mr. Kruger. If you'll come forward and stand in front of me, I'll swear you in. No, that's just one thing. You raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under the laws of the state of Utah on penalty of perjury that the testimony given in this matter today will be true, correct, so help you God? Yeah, that's one. Thank you. Have a seat up there. We know you've testified before. Just a couple of reminders. Please give verbal responses. Only respond to the questions that's been asked of you. Give a direct response, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And speaking to the mic as well directly. Mr. Pomeroy.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Kruger, please introduce yourself to the jury.
My name is Dave Kruger. I live in American Fork.
Great, thank you. Would you prefer that we call you Dave, David, Mr. Kruger?
Dave works.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Dave, more specifically than American Fork, in the summer of 2024, did you live in American Fork?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know a Tracey Grist at that time?
Yes.
How did you know her?
She was my across the street neighbor.
Okay. And did a Kevin Ellis live in her home with her?
Yes.
Okay. And you say across the street, could we be a little bit more specific of how that was?
Yes. So my home is west facing. She is directly across the street, so west and slightly to the south.
Okay. If I was standing in your driveway looking towards her house, would that be left or right?
It would be left.
And then what type of community was this?
Yeah, it's a small gated community.
Okay. Was it a nice neighborhood?
Yeah. Yeah, nice neighborhood.
Was it a safe neighborhood?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any surveillance cameras on your home?
Yes.
Was that just kind of a routine thing you did? I mean, you called it a safe neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I take extra precaution just for out of convenience.
Okay. What type of cameras were they in the summer of 2024?
They were, let's see, ADT Blue. It was the name of the devices, or that was the service.
Is that one of those paid services where they come do everything, or is it more of a do-it-yourself setup?
Do it yourself.
Okay. And these particular cameras, how would they work?
Off motion sensor. So anything, they don't work extremely well, but they'll, when something, it goes by that sets off the motion, starts recording.
Okay. And the cameras that you had on your home at the time, where were they pointed?
The one above the garage was pointed just in front of the driveway. Had another one right by the front door that was pointed just, in front of the front yard. Those were both pointed to the south towards Tracey's home.
At the time, were both of those working?
Yes.
Okay. Does this system record the time the videos are taken?
Yes.
Is the reported time on the video accurate?
Yes.
To your knowledge, does the system record only to the hour, to the minute, to the second?
It's to the minute. I don't believe it counts seconds. So just every minute. So it's not going to record seconds.
Okay. So like if we're looking at this clock, it counts down each second. If you're looking at these videos, it flips every minute.
Every minute, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Do you recall police reaching out in July 2024 to obtain some of your surveillance footage?
Yes.
Do you recall the date and time for which officers were looking for?
I don't recall the exact date or time, no. It was a couple days after.
Does the evening of July 12th sound about accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you provide that footage to the officers?
Yes.
Would you recognize it if you saw it again?
Yep.
Okay. Your Honor, the state moves into evidence exhibits 38, 39, and 40.
Any objection, Mr. Facebar? No objection. Thank you. Exhibits 38 through 40 are admitted without objection.
Thank you both. Please publish 38. Okay, what is this?
This is my app that shows security footage.
Okay. And specifically, I see a couple different things here. Which is the one that was of interest to the police?
The driveway motion detected.
Okay. That would be the black and white image kind of in the middle.
Yep.
Okay. And what's the timestamp of that?
10:06.
And that would be the timestamp of when it activated.
Correct.
Okay. Let's move to exhibit 39 and 40.
We
Okay.
blow those up for the jury.
Thank you. So this is 39. And are you able to, is that already playing? Thank you. Okay. Could you get that up, but then pause it? Yeah, sorry, get it back in. There you go. So pause it. Thank you right there. Okay. So this was the clip.
Correct.
And this is the clip that started at 10:06.
Yes.
Okay. And we saw the entirety of it just now.
Yes.
And how many seconds is the entirety of this video?
30 seconds.
Okay. And were you able to see the object that caused the movement that triggered the camera?
The truck, yes.
So it was a truck that
Yeah.
caused it. Okay.
Mhm.
And that's what we saw in the still frame. And in fact, where it's paused right now, can you still see that truck?
Yes.
Where on the screen would it be?
The top, middle to the left.
Okay, thank you. Now we can go to exhibit 40. Is this that same video,
Yes.
just enlarged?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
Ross? Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you.
May he be excused from the subpoena, counsel?
Please, Judge.
Thank you. You're free to go, sir. All right. Please call your next witness, Mr. Pomeroy.
I believe we're returning to Mr.
We're going to return to
Facemeyer.
Ms. Restelli, Mr. Facemeyer. All right, let's bring Ms. Restelli back and I'll re-swear her in for today.
Oh, here we go with this wench.
I'll take just a minute. We're bringing her down from another floor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. stand up and raise your hand. I'll swear you in for today. You swear or affirm under the laws of the state of Utah, penalty of perjury, that testimony you give today will be true and correct, so help you God.
I do.
Okay, please have a seat. Mr. Faceman, I'll turn the witness back to you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning.
Kate, we left yesterday speaking about your brother Kevin, and I wanted to go on to a different train of conversation now about how this case has proceeded. Previously, Kate, I had shown you a picture. Do you recall this picture?
I do.
And just because we're starting a new day, I'll just ask, what is this picture of? Do you remember?
The interview I had with the American Fork Police Department and the state.
Right. And do you recall the date of this interview?
Vaguely.
If I told you it says 6/12/2025, June 12th, does that sound right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, okay. Not trying to trick you, but just to give an idea. So on June 12th, you went and met with the prosecutor and the investigating officer, right?
I did.
Your attorney was there, who's here today, right?
Yes, he is.
And in preparation for this, we had talked about, you had provided your attorney with a proffer of evidence, right?
Yes.
And as this proffer of evidence, that's your best recollection of the events leading up to the death of Matt, right?
Yes.
And in return for that proffer statement that your attorney drafted, you received a offer. Is that right?
Yes.
And indeed, there was an offer provided to you by the prosecution even before your proffer statement. Were you aware of that?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Yeah, approach a witness here.
Of course.
I'm sorry, one moment, Your Honor. Is she handcuffed?
I am.
Are we keeping her handcuffed?
We did yesterday.
She was looking through exhibits.
I was handcuffed in the front yesterday, but today it has to be.
So she can look at exhibits like we did yesterday.
We'll have to bring her downstairs for our policy. We're not allowed to have our weapons on us while under restraining, so we'd have to go download.
All right, let's take about a 10-minute break and do that then. All right, we'll be in recess while we get that taken care of.
All rise for the jury.
Hey.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right, counsel, before I step out for a minute while we work on this, anything you need to put on the record?
I didn't mean to embarrass Kate during that.
No, I don't think anybody will. I think it's just.
Yes, you did. You knew what you was doing. And who cares?
Bring it back and I'll reconvene. We're in recess. Thank you.
All rise.
Who was being petty this morning? Yes, she's cuffed. Apparently, they cuffed her behind her back today. Yesterday, we saw her silver bracelets yesterday. She was at least cuffed in the front, so whenever she would reach, we could kind of see them. They got her tied up like she Hannibal. She is though. She crazy. She's crazy. Listen. how somebody expects you to sit down and sit up straight with your hands in the middle of your back. Like, she didn't piss one of them officers off this morning. And they said, who was that? Smokey's mama. This ain't enough. Make it enough. Like, make it work. Figure it out. Jeez. Yeah, she definitely did not make a friend this morning. I was just watching a series on corrections officers, and people were saying in those series that you got to be careful because those people have your life in their hands. Like, they can literally do whatever they want, and there's nothing you can do, good or bad. And that just proved that whole series right, because why the hell would you have... Oh, why the hell would you have her sitting like that? Can't nobody sit like that. Sheesh. She didn't piss in somebody's Cheerios. She didn't piss somebody off. And ain't no telling how long she gonna be sitting there. Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible. And somebody probably playing like they ain't got the keys to them things. Probably did something she ain't had no business doing, or trying to be funny, or I don't know. Seems like she rather enjoys being on TV, or how big this has gotten. I've gotten a lot of DMs yesterday from people who are from like, what's it called, Temecula, California, where this happened, where she's from, and they said it's a really, really big deal there. Oh, excuse me. Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. I was sending this video to my cousin. Dallas has officially accepted his first cousin duties. So remember last year we had the wedding that was all green. So now the second sister is getting married in September. And she would like Dallas to be her ring bearer. So we talked about what that meant this morning, and all he heard was bye-bye on the plane. And it's a very important job. Okay. So she's excited, he's accepted, and so now we'll be looking for more outfits to go to. I believe this wedding is in Virginia, so. Baby, that week long, let me tell you something. Never again in life. I'm gonna have to get my coin up because September for the wedding, and in October will be Dallas's birthday, which we did want to do a trip this year, but then we're going to turn around and probably go out of town about a week or so after Dallas's birthday, because baby 7 will be turning 1 in October. So yeah, he's trying to grow up. So I guess I'll record our adventures. I guess sometime this week I'll have to go get him measured, because she said she'll need measurements soon for his suit. And she was like, I wanted to have at least one of them in the wedding. And I said, baby, you chose the right one, because that damn Denver is filled with the spirit of Tiffany. You might have an amazing rehearsal, and he wake up the next morning and say, nope. No thanks anyway. Denver will make a liar out of you, honey. Don't trust him. Or he be the one down that aisle with Iron Man and Sonic in his hand, and we be looking for them rings. He only is. Hey, listen. He should go. Nope. When he say that, that really makes my skin crawl. Like, if y'all have ever seen a parent in public talking through their teeth, but they're literally in a growl, and that growl has turned into a roar, and it's so loud, you looking at that kid like, hey, she about to hurt you, dog. Like, that's Denver. Okay? He don't really act up in public, but something like this where he just be like, no, I did that yesterday. Get you like this. I already did that. I did it yesterday. Like, you'll be ready to hurt him. And he'd be so serious. He'd be so serious. And then after he do it, he go, Mom, are you angry? I just don't want to do it. Like, I just can't do it, Mom. I can't. Like, dude, really?
Thank you. Please be seated. Let's go back on the record of the matter of State versus Grist, case number 241101170. You ready to bring the jury out again? Let's bring the jury out.
I ain't never in my life been in a courtroom where we got to take a break to hog tie this heifer. Like, what?
Check. Yep.
All right, for the jury.
Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Facemar, the witness is yours again.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll approach the witness, Your Honor.
Of course. You have ongoing permission.
All right.
Yes,
Okay,
it was
I
supposed
provided
to
you
be
page one of a letter.
We took the whole
At the
everybody.
top of that letter,
It was about 9 of them.
it says what? The very top.
Plea offer letter,
Correct. And what's even above that?
Utah County Attorney.
Right. So this is a letter drafted, it appears by the Utah County Attorney. Is that right?
Yes,
And it's a plea offer letter to you, right?
correct.
And what's the date of that letter?
May 16th, 2025.
All right. I'd like to offer this as an exhibit, Your Honor,
Any objection?
No objection.
and to publish that to the jury.
What exhibit number is this?
2, I think.
Okay, defense exhibit 2 is received without objection.
Thank you. And as a publisher, Your Honor, I think my witness will have that available to her on screen as well.
Let's give the Squatabig's paralegal just a moment.
As they prepare that, I just want to ask a couple of questions, if
Of
you're
course.
okay. Excuse me. Kate, do you know what the importance of the date of this letter is? May 16th, 2025.
No, I'm not.
Are you aware, or let me better state, do you recall what your case was doing in and around this time of May 16th, 2025?
I don't recall.
Do you recall coming to court with your attorney and scheduling a preliminary hearing?
I believe I was scheduled for a preliminary hearing.
And do you know when those preliminary hearing dates were?
No, I do not remember.
If I told you that those preliminary hearing dates were May 20th and 22nd, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
No, I would not.
Does that sound right?
I honestly, I don't recall.
Do you recall that we scheduled 2 full days for that preliminary hearing?
I don't recall.
Do you understand what a preliminary hearing is?
I do.
And what's your understanding?
That all the evidence and discovery is presented to the court, and they decide whether or not they have a case against us. Excuse me.
Right. And so at that hearing, evidence would be presented to your honor and not to a jury, right?
Correct.
And the purpose of a preliminary hearing is not to determine guilt or innocence, is it?
Correct.
It's just to determine whether there is sufficient evidence for you to be charged with what you're charged with.
Correct.
And that hearing was coming up on May 20th, right?
Yes.
Thank you. I would ask the court to take judicial notice that there was a preliminary hearing scheduled on May 20th, 2025, scheduled for 2 days in Mr. Restelli's case.
Any objection? to
No
that?
objection.
So noted, thank you.
Just so we don't have to worry about that any longer. Are you aware that there was a preliminary hearing that took place in relation to your mom, Tracey, on May 20th?
I'm aware that she had a preliminary trial. Yes. I do not remember the day.
Sure. And so this letter, now we have it exhibited before us, was before that date of the prelim, right?
Correct.
And as you see, this letter is an offer for a settlement, right?
Yes.
And is it your understanding when this letter was presented to your attorney, it says, "Dear counsel," that this was in and around the time that you were preparing yourself to cooperate to then tell your story of the events surrounding the death of Matt?
Yes.
What is that?
Excuse me.
Thank you. I don't think that was you, but thank you. And takes a lot of work for a prosecutor to put on a case for 2 days, right?
Correct.
Object to speculation.
He said, "You don't
See
know."
a lot of work being done for. Thank you. I'll accept the objection. You see a lot of work that's being done by the state presenting this case today. Is that right?
I can assume so.
Yeah. They have lots and lots of exhibits.
Yes, they do.
They have a binder full of stuff for people to look at, the jury, myself, yourself, the court, correct?
Yes.
Doesn't take 10 minutes to put this kind of stuff together, does it?
No, it does not.
Right. And so the state made an offer prior to your preliminary hearing and prior to the time that they had to present these exhibits for the preliminary hearing, correct?
Say that one more time.
I can't. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm going to have to rephrase it.
okay.
No, I do think this was asked and answered. She said the date was the 16th. We have an admission that the preliminary hearing was on the 20th.
Do you remember what you did on May 20th?
I was taken to court and I met with Judge Griffin in his chambers and forewent my right to a preliminary hearing.
Thank you. In the law, we call it a waiver. Is it true that on May 20th, you waived your right to a preliminary hearing?
Yes.
And did you waive your right to a preliminary hearing because of this offer that you received from prosecution?
I did.
And you did not have to go through a preliminary hearing and endure the evidence that they were going to present to the court at that time.
No, I did not.
But you did know at that time that you waived your preliminary hearing, the evidence that they were going to present on your case. Is that right?
I was given discovery, yes.
And so you knew the evidence they were going to present at the preliminary hearing.
Not all the audio or picture files, but yes, the discovery.
You certainly were aware that you had taken texts and you had done your texts and you had sent them to Tracey and Tara Lynn and you had taken copies of phone recordings and you knew of that, right?
Yes, I did.
And you knew that the police had that.
Yes, I did.
Who is dying?
And in this letter,
Oh,
it indicates
cough drop or something.
that you're currently charged with murder, conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, commission of DV in the presence of a child, counts 4 and 5. A little further down on that page, if we could. And so you were informed that that's where your charges, which you already knew of, correct?
Yes,
And now the agreement by the state on what the plea offer would be, correct?
yes,
Which was murder from a first-degree felony to a second-degree felony, conspiracy to a second-degree felony, which remained, and then felony discharge of a weapon, first-degree felony, right?
correct.
And in May, you knew that you were going to have to provide in the month of May a statement to law enforcement and the prosecution to preserve this offer.
Yes.
And you were able to prepare for that. And how did you prepare for that? Did you talk to your attorney?
Yes.
And you talked to your attorney so much that he came up with a proffer letter, which is Exhibit 1, right?
Yes.
Sir, if you're trying to show us that she went and did what the best thing she could for her, and like this is what every snitch
The
deal.
proffer letter was
First.
drafted on or about June 6th,
Correct.
which we have seen before. And that gave you a couple weeks to speak to your attorney, to get the story of your or recollection of the events surrounding the death of Matthew prepared for enough to speak with prosecution, right?
Yes.
So you had a couple weeks between the plea offer, you had a couple weeks between the offer, and then you had
Unless you about to show me this proffer
6
letter,
days
say
until
something
your
one
actual-
thing, and it's her deal after
Yes.
she got after the preliminary, she said another. Move on.
And your purpose
That's the only thing you could be.
before May 16th, before your preliminary hearing, you had told your attorney, I want to give the truth.
Yes, I did.
I want to have justice for my children and for Matt.
Yes. And his family and his community and everyone involved.
You actually didn't say that at the time. You actually said the
She had
truth and
practiced
justice for
her
Matt. and your
parole
children,
hearing,
right?
fool.
That was my main reason. Yeah.
And so you had a lot of time to prepare and to recall and to remember all of the events surrounding
This is practice. She ain't worried about Matt or
And
nobody else.
during the interview
Closer to home.
on June 12th, the prosecution asked you questions.
Yes, he did.
Based on that interview, you ended up entering a plea.
I did.
And in the plea, you pled, as shown here in this report, this letter, to murder and conspiracy and felony discharge, right?
Correct.
And then after the plea, the court set it for sentencing. Is that right?
Nope, the deal was done.
Did you know what the benefit of pleading to these 3 charges would be as opposed to the 5 charges that you were charged with originally?
No,
You didn't.
I knew that some charges were removed. I don't know what every charge carries.
When you pled, were you aware of the benefit of, well, let me ask this question. I would strike that. Did you know that when you were pleading to the 3 charges in this letter that are indicated right there, that you would be going to prison?
Yes, I did.
When you agreed to this, were you in prison?
No, I was not.
You were actually in the Utah County Jail, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
You were in the Utah County Jail for how long? 8 months, 10 months?
11 months.
11 months, thank you. And so in your 11 months, you knew that your time in jail in the county would stop at some point if you took this plea,
Yes,
and that you would be changed to a prison inmate rather than a county inmate. Isn't that right?
correct.
And that wasn't a real question for you. You knew that was going to be the case if you entered that plea.
Yes, I knew I was going to prison when I got arrested.
And that wasn't my question. My question was, when you entered your plea, you knew that your entry of the plea of those 3 charges would require you to go to prison and not remain in the county jail.
Yes.
And did you know what the time difference between those 5 charges you were charged with and those 3 you were pleading to would be in difference to how many years you'd spend in prison?
As far as I knew, life was always on the table.
So you are under the impression today that you are going to be in prison for the rest of your life.
No, I am not.
So when you just said, I know that life is always on the table, what do you mean by that?
In Utah County Jail, when I was given this letter, I knew that I was going to be charged with this felony discharge of a firearm, and that's a felony 1. And the felony 1s carry a life sentence.
It's a 5 to life, right?
I am not sure of what the parameters are, but I know it carries a life sentence.
It's just life. You'll go to prison for the rest of your life, right?
I
You'll
can
never
assume
get
so.
out, will you?
As far as I'm aware, a life sentence is 35 years.
Oh, who told you that?
Inmate.com.
Who?
Inmates, other inmates, I've heard.
No,
they
she called
say
inmate.com.
Life sentence is 35 years.
And that's what your attorney told you too, that you'd spend the rest of your life in prison with this plea, didn't he?
He did not tell me I would spend the rest of my life in prison, no.
Then why are you saying it now?
Because I knew it was on the table. I knew it was an option.
Do you remember testifying at the trial?
She knew
previously
everything
with
about
Kevin?
it, Amanda. Tell the truth.
I do.
Call her
Do you
out.
remember
She
talking
knew
about
everything
how
about it.
you knew how many months you actually were going to spend or
See,
years
that's why
you were going
she's
to
trying
spend
to
based on this plea?
That is a guideline.
Do you
Yes.
remember saying that?
Yes, it is guideline.
Because the truth of the matter is, call her out, Amanda. She absolutely said yesterday when she was testifying that her deal, all of her felonies were 2nd-degree felonies, except for that discharge of a firearm. And she did request a reduction in that felony of a discharge of a firearm to get it down to 2nd degree. And she said yesterday that she was very well aware that for 2nd degree, you don't do more than 15 years. So for the other 2 charges, her range is 1 to 15. So she knew what she was doing by requesting that discharge of a firearm be taken down to 2nd degree, because she knew at most she'd be doing 1 to 15 on all of them at the same time. She knew it. So sitting there playing this game like, oh, I knew life was a possibility. Like you just are this saint, like this jacked up, sick, twisted martyr that you threw yourself on the line in the interest of justice for him without knowing what the consequences would be. Baby, you recorded conversations that your mama didn't even know about. At all times, you were going to take care of yourself. You ain't even worry about your kids.
I'm sorry. The question is, do you remember telling the jury at that trial how many months and or years you presume you'd be spending in prison?
Yes.
Okay. Did you tell that jury that you'd be spending life in prison?
I don't recall whether I told them that or not.
Okay.
I told you she practicing for parole. She's trying to look like she was
This will take me some time.
spent life long, but she did the right thing.
This is a transcript of your testimony at the trial of Kevin Ellis. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And her sentence is 6 to life, buddy. So if she said it, she ain't lying. She know what she doing. She crazy. Hey.
With transcripts at the end, are you aware that the transcriber will put in the words and when they appear in the transcript?
No, I am not aware of that.
Would you like to see it?
if you think it's necessary for me to see it.
Your Honor, at this point, I'm going to object. This is outside the realm of her knowledge of how a transcript works. And there's
I
nothing
think
to
she's
refer.
already told us that she doesn't know, so I think that's on the record.
And what does that page describe?
W words and Y words.
Right. And so those have numbers next to each word, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
What do you think those numbers indicate?
You said that it indicates how many times it is said.
If I told you that it indicates the page and line of each page in which that word was said, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
No, I would not.
If I told you that this page under Y has the word years, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
I saw that on the page.
You did. Okay. So now I'm going to go into the years because we seem to have a lack of memory here.
Who? Why don't you go to the lack of memory?
And do you know why I'm doing this?
Not a clue.
Because you said you don't remember telling the jury in the Kevin Ellis case how many years you anticipate staying in prison. You're asserting to this jury that it will be for life.
Actually, Your Honor, maybe we approach.
That's not what she said. And if she don't remember if she told them it was life or said she was going to stay for life, life is the possibility. Okay? Parole is not guaranteed. So you going to have a problem going back and forth with her when she obviously lives her life in loopholes and technicalities. She hasn't even referred to herself as an inmate. She's referred to other people as inmates. She's a resident. She said she's a resident. They inmates. She's a resident. Sir, you need to talk to my pop-up. He said, he used to tell us, you don't never argue with a fool, because from far away, you can't tell who's who. You can't tell which one is the fool if you sitting up there arguing with one. And sir, she gonna make a fool out of you. We already know she is in the land of the Lulu. Everybody an inmate but her. Good morning.
Kate, I'm going to show you a document.
Okay.
Trying to prove a point because you pretty much got a good idea. She may not stay in. It's a possibility she
Does that
won't
look
do
familiar
life.
to you?
Yes, it does.
But life is a possibility for her. That woman live on a hope, a wish, a prayer, and a technicality, baby. Ain't gonna
And
get
what
nothing
does it
out of
look
her.
like to you?
It is a page from my pre-sentence report.
And when you have this page from your pre-sentence report, what is it indicating?
It is interesting. It is the criminal homicide matrix.
And when you were sentenced Was this matrix used in your sentencing?
I believe so.
Were you aware at any time before your sentencing that this would be an approximate amount of months and or years that you would spend in prison?
Yes.
Yes. So you were informed before sentencing that your plea deal would have a matrix that would come out to this amount that's right in front of you, isn't it?
Correct.
And in that box that you see squared off, I would ask for the court to allow this as exhibit number 3, defense number 3.
No objection.
Thank you, so noted.
And to publish, Your Honor.
We'll publish it.
In the box on the bottom, there's a squared amount of MOS. What does MOS mean to you?
MOS is indicated for months.
And in your sentencing report, how many months does it say the board would have? Well, how many months does it say is the approximate time that you would spend in prison?
For that one charge, 108 months.
And you have been telling us for your first degree, 5 to life, right?
I believe so.
That is not calculated here. Is that your understanding?
That the life isn't calculated?
That your 5 to life discharge of a firearm, first degree felony, is not calculated here. Is that right?
Not on this page, no.
And where is that calculated?
There's a little box with, this is active convictions. And then if you go across, it says time, and there's 108 twice, plus 72, for a total of 288 months.
And so is it your understanding that you're going to spend 288 months?
Yes, if the board allows me to be released.
Do you remember saying something completely different to the prior trial?
No, I don't.
Do you remember saying that you had spent about 11 years in prison, but it's up to the board?
That was before I was fully knowledgeable in how the board works.
Do you remember saying that to the jury?
Yes, I do.
But you now, once again, are changing your testimony?
Because I have new knowledge of how the board works.
Okay, that's
and I
not a
have spoken with
change.
my caseworker in prison.
Unless you about to show us that she said one thing before
And you didn't know
preliminary
that at the time
hearing,
you
heard some
accepted
evidence,
your
and then
plea.
changed her story. Why are we doing
I
this?
didn't know what.
Of the new knowledge you now have.
No, I did not know that.
Matter of fact, when you set your plea, you were looking at the 108 months, weren't you? As a guideline for the board to review.
When I set my plea, the guideline was 288, but I knew that life was still on the table. I knew that I could still spend a possibility of life in prison.
Why did you not tell the jury in the Ellis trial that?
Maybe the question wasn't asked in the way that I understood. I'm not sure.
Right, the board gonna go through all of this. I think she practicing for the board. I think those tears that she practiced yesterday are gonna be used for the board. Like, this has nothing to do with Matthew, her children, or anybody else. This has everything to do with seeing how quick she can get out and checking off all the boxes. Like she did with keeping up with this plea agreement. She's gonna check all the boxes. That's it. She's gonna check all the boxes. You're not gonna see her true colors until the trick is no good.
Judge, I'm gonna ask you to take a break. I don't want to waste the jury's time watching me look through papers. I'm going to ask that we take
Let's take a recess.
All rise for the jury.
Take a recess,
Yeah, I think, thank you, Judge.
How are we feeling about this cross-examination? Hey, Texas Buckeye.
And please be seated. All right, counsel, we'll be in recess until.
You think the jury cares whether or not she told the last jury
All rise.
she was going to spend life in jail? What do you think, or is it important that she said the last time that she was going to spend life in jail? At this point, I think it would be a foolish mistake to say, oh, I ain't spending life in jail. I think that would end up in front of my desk if I was on that board. Like, it's still 5 to life. You're not guaranteed a 5 or a 6 or a 7 or a 15. So I think it would be foolish not to acknowledge that you're still facing life, especially for the practice that she's putting in. Yeah, I think the one thing I was looking to hear, because he keeps talking about that proffer and that plea, and he did put up the fact that, she was there for like 8 months and went through preliminary hearings and saw all the evidence that they had and things of that nature before she actually went along with or helped create this narrative that gets her mother, according to the defense. So if that's the case, show me. If you want me to throw out her testimony, and I would venture to say that it's possible that she's the only thing that makes it a conspiracy. She's the only way they can prove that there was an agreement between the three. And maybe they didn't do a good job of that in Kevin's case, because Kevin was not convicted of conspiracy. He is convicted of popping him, but not the conspiracy. So maybe they weren't able to prove it with Kevin, but still got the conviction overall. I don't know how I thought, Laura, I thought that maybe he was going to show us that she made this proffer letter and all the information she put in the proffer letter, maybe some of it changed. Maybe she added a little razzle dazzle, a little seasoning. Maybe she added new stories altogether after the preliminary hearing. But now they're saying she didn't have hers. She waived hers. Like, so unless you get ready to tell me that she offered up all this information and then changed her story to sweeten or secure a specific deal, then that's the only thing you can do right now. But tell whether or not she says she gonna do life, might do life, looking at life, got life, I don't know. I don't care. Oh, we know she's being manipulative by saying, yes, I could spend my life in prison, but technically, is it a lie? I can't stand this wench, but did she lie? Technically, she could. And to be honest, 6 years, I really think she should spend her life in there. She's scary. I'd rather be blind in one eye, deaf in one ear, missing my right arm and my left leg. Can't move more than 2 miles per hour. And I got Freddie, Michael, and Jason Voorhees behind me. I would feel more comfortable in a room with them than this woman. She is scary. She's evil. And she has the ability to manipulate grown-ass people, her own family, to do her bidding. And could have had more siblings. She lucky she ain't in Georgia, because Fonnie would have roped her ass with a damn Rika so quick. Everybody in that group chat, everybody in that group chat. Would have been a continuing criminal enterprise every time they send a text. Speaking of funny, I gotta finish looking into. Hold on. Oh, okay. I'm a little bit chilly. I might have to go get my robe now. I was, scrolling and some of the folks that I follow. I believe it was Miss Attorney Megan Grout had pointed out that there's a judge in Georgia, former judge at this point, in Georgia, who apparently had so many complaints on her name, about 30 of them at one point, that the Judicial Qualification Committee was having some hearings about her ass and these alleged things or complaints or violations of her oath were so egregious. Apparently, they were going to recommend, that she be removed as a judge. And I'm talking about, it was some craziness. Making families wait years for orders. And I think they said she got sued by one person because they were a witness in a divorce and she just threw them in jail for still they don't know why. And that person ended up suing her. Well, she pulled the quick, you can't fire me if I quit move. And she resigned before they could toss her out as a judge. And apparently, with all the shenanigans around her, finally hired her as an ADA. like what this is the other thing though. Let's say you decide to give somebody a chance, right? Let's say in her heart of hearts, Bonnie just wanted to give somebody a chance. Thought there was still some good. You know, you don't just throw people away.
Let's go back on the record, the matter of state.
But all the mess she got surrounding or the, you know, the aura she has around her DA's office, I don't think she would be the one to be able to rehabilitate that woman's reputation. It looks like you trying to get people to do your type of work. That don't look good. And y'all got Tiffany Henyard flying around down there. Just seem a little crazy. Seem a little crazy.
All rise for the jury.
Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Tracey.
Thank you, Your Honor. Kate, is it fair to say that you know more now than you knew 3 months ago about your prison sentence?
Yes.
When were you sentenced?
I don't recall. I don't remember the date.
Do you remember the month?
September.
September.
I believe September.
So you've had an opportunity to be in the prison system for September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, 8 months, right?
Yes.
You have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about life in prison and about your sentence, right?
Yes.
But there's certain things you know now that you didn't know at the time that you were negotiating for a plea resolution, right?
Correct.
And what I'm asking you is what you knew at the time of negotiating for your plea, did you know and think about your sentence to be? Do you understand that?
Yes.
And although it might be a little different than what you know now, it is certainly relevant to talk about what you thought at the time of not only the negotiation for your plea, but the actual sentence of your plea on the amount of time you would be serving. You understand that?
Yes.
In the offer letter, you would get the offer to plead to murder from a first degree to a second degree.
Correct.
And you understood the difference between a second degree and a first degree.
Yes.
Was it explained to you by your attorney?
It was.
A second degree has an indeterminate sentence of 1 to 15 years, whereas a first degree felony, and if it's murder, is 15 or even 20 years to life in prison, right?
Correct.
So you moved from a 20 to life to a 1 to 15 in your indeterminate sentence. You knew that was going to be part of the plea bargain that the government gave to the person who lured Matt to his death, right?
Yes.
And some included that you would plead to some other things, and one of them had to be conspiracy.
Yes.
They're saying that if you want a deal to get the reduction, then you got to plead to conspiracy too, right?
Correct.
Now the conspiracy, you understand, he ran all this through your lawyer, right?
Yes.
And he would have provided you good assistance, wouldn't he?
Yes.
And I think he told you, he understood, he answered all your questions, and you thought you understood the legal process and the fact process and the plea bargaining process, right?
Yes.
So with these other offenses, again, they're reduced. Now the felony of discharge of a weapon, that says felony 1, right?
Correct.
Now felony 1 is a 5 to life, right?
Correct.
However, there are matrices that give you an idea, at least, of what kind of sentence might result from one kind of plea, right?
Correct.
And in reality, even though that third-degree felony, number 3, first-degree felony, even though it's F1, 5 to life, your sentencing at the board, the matrix that's going to mostly apply is the second-degree murder, right?
I'm not sure on that fact.
You've got a matrix that applies, and it shows the likely sentence might be from the Board of Pardons at various offense levels, right?
Yes.
So as we have the matrix before us, you can publish that, please.
Sir, we know the sentence. She got off scot-free. She got a slap on the wrist and could potentially be out here walking among us.
At the time of negotiation, at the time of plea, at the time of sentencing,
I'm sure the mothers would have been even
discussing matters with your lawyer.
new kids.
Matrix. It's working.
It's just slow. It's like
Oh,
turning
yeah,
on the
there it
faucet
came.
in the hose.
After working with your lawyer, what we're talking about in terms of time is if you're down on the matrix, as there being a pre-sentence report, which is prepared, and your lawyer speaking to this, as you indicate, there's a square of 108 months, right?
Yes.
That's because you were allowed to plead to a second degree that resulted in death, right?
Yes.
And you were shown that if you were given a first degree murder, that it's 11 years, that 11 years goes to 240 months, right? Which would be on the matrix to your left of that box. Do you see the 240 months, first degree murder?
I do.
And what is the months in that?
240.
So that matrix gives you an idea, and your lawyer taught the difference between murder and a second degree felony that you're allowed to plead to.
Yes.
But there could be a board meeting and a board hearing where the parole board actually varies from one extent to another.
Yes.
And people can come and talk at those hearings and ask that your sentence be longer than 108 months, right?
Yes.
And people can come and say that she did a good job testifying. And as a state of Utah, we think she should get some consideration for that, right?
It's possible.
And they can actually help you out with that for you to get 100 months, for you to get 108 months later. The government can help with that, right?
Yes, if they saw fit.
And so at the time of negotiation, at the time of plea, at the time of sentencing, it was your understanding that you were moving from a murder 240 months to a second degree death 108 months. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Now today, you don't agree with that. Is that right?
I'm agreeing.
You are agreeing. And so your board review of 108 months is still standing, isn't it?
I will see the board. I have a tentative board hearing in June of 2036.
2036,
Yes, sir.
which is approximately 108 months.
I'm not sure on the math. It's 10 years from now, 11 years.
120 months would be 10 years, right?
I don't know.
10 times 12, 120.
Sure.
So 120 months.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. A lot different than the 240 months if you're convicted of murder.
Correct.
So there is a great advantage to enter into the plea in which you did enter into, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
And you took advantage of that by cooperating to tell the truth, right?
Yes.
virtually cut your sentence in half, didn't it?
I'm not sure of the math on that.
Well, 240, that's 20 years, right?
If life is still on the table, there's nothing cut in half.
240 is 20 years, right?
Yes,
Thank you. And you said you have a board date in 120, right?
yes,
And the recommendation on the matrix is 108, right?
correct.
And you've essentially cut your sentence in half, haven't you, with that plea offer?
On that charge, yes.
Well, on that charge, it's 108, not 120. Says it right there, doesn't it? 108.
I have 2 charges of 108 and 1 charge of 72 months.
And your 2 charges are concurrent with one another, aren't they?
I'm not sure how the concurrent and consecutive work.
If I told you that concurrent means they go as you're sentencing at the exact same time, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
No,
If I told you in your plea statement that you made, it talks about concurrent, meaning the time goes at the exact same time with one another, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
I was under the assumption that 2 run concurrent and 1 runs consecutive.
Do you remember my question?
No,
My question was about concurrent. Do you remember me saying the word consecutive?
no.
Because I didn't. So
Object argumentative.
I'm about to say, sir, you pushing it.
So in your plea statement, it describes the difference between concurrent and consecutive, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And in concurrent, it describes your sentence as concurrently would, not does, but would concurrent run together at the same time.
Correct.
Right. Which means if you had a 1-year sentence and another 1-year sentence and it was concurrent, you would do 1 year on both charges, correct?
I believe that's how it works.
And in your plea statement, which you signed, didn't you?
Yes, it did.
And you read, didn't you?
Yes, it did.
And it tells you all of this, doesn't it?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. And then it says consecutive would be 1 sentence, and then when you're done, the other sentence, right?
Yes.
Okay. And on this matrix, it says on your 2nd degree death, 108 months, right?
Yes.
But you know that consecutive sentencing, you know now that consecutive sentencing has a percentage attached to it, don't you?
I believe so, yes.
And you know that that percentage, even consecutive sentencing, which is one after another, doesn't go the whole term, does it?
I had that explained to me, yes.
Yeah. It just gives a percentage of that term, right?
Right.
Yeah. Do you know what that percentage is?
40%, I believe.
Is that because you read it at the very bottom of these little words right here?
No, I was remembering from my memory.
That's because that's what you've learned since you've been at the prison for a while, right?
No, I remember
Well,
that.
that's what she
from my
cared
meeting
about.
with
That's
my
why she
attorney while I
committed
was
to memory. She
talking.
remember all the other shit, but
At
she
the time
remember.
of the trial with Kevin Ellis 2 months ago, you were expecting the 108 months to be a good range of time you would spend, but not a perfect amount of time you would spend. Isn't that accurate?
Yes.
Kate, I want to go back in time a little bit now to June and May of 2025, okay?
Okay.
I'm sorry. I need to take a drink. I apologize, Your Honor. No, take it up there if you want. It's smart water, it helps. Tracey, at the time you went to speak with the prosecutor,
I'm not Tracey.
sorry, I apologize. I did not mean that intentionally. Kate, at the time that you went to speak with the prosecutor and the investigator, June 12th, were you prepared to tell the truth?
I was.
Do you remember how that event occurred?
Yes.
How did that conversation occur?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, we have this picture. It shows you and Mike Brown. There's Mike in the back of the
They
courtroom.
told her she can get
You
away.
and Mike Brown on one side of the table, right?
She allowed out. They gave her
And on the other side of the table is our
out.
prosecutor friends and then the investigator.
I don't think she
right?
thinks
Yes.
anything she
How
did
did
was
that
bad.
conversation transpire? Did they ask questions or did you just say, hey, I have something to tell you?
I believe they asked questions
And did you respond to the questions?
to the best of my ability. Yes.
Did you respond truthfully?
To the best of my ability. Yes.
Did you find that during your questions with them that they were telling you things that they thought were true?
I believe so.
And were you telling them what you knew to be true?
Yes, I was.
And during that conversation with them, did you tell them about whether or not there was a plan to hurt Matt when you left California?
Yes, I did.
And what did you say? Do you recall?
I believe there was no plan to hurt Matt when I left California.
You believe there was no plan. Indeed, you said there wasn't any plan at this point to hurt Matt.
Correct.
So I need to get my dates right. On June 20th, right? There was no plan to hurt Matt.
Correct.
But there had been a conversation about a plan or about hurting Matt previous to that. Is that right?
As a figure of speech, possibly. Yes.
As a joke.
It's a joke until it becomes true.
Didn't you refer to it as a joke?
I thought it was as a figure of speech. Yes.
When did you start to realize that there may be a plan to hurt Matt?
About a week and a half after being at my mom's, give or take a couple days.
And what did your mom say?
She said we could get him out here and we could shoot him and have it look like self-defense.
So do you remember in that interview that you actually said, my mom just mentioned ambushing him, like if he came out, like because the state of Utah laws. I don't remember things like that. It's more, it was in passing. It was like she said it as a joke.
If that's what the transcript says, and that's what I said.
Were you telling the truth that day?
To the best of my ability, yes.
Yeah. Did you find that during this interview, you started changing your ideas on the events to satisfy the narrative of the investigator?
I don't believe I changed my narrative to satisfy the investigator.
Then why would you say during this first interview, when this is your first chance to just tell the truth, that you said a week after you came that your mom talked about an ambush, but it was in passing and it was like a joke? Were you lying?
No, because no, I
Is
was
that the
not lying.
truth?
No, the mouth of the South.
I remember
Congratulations on whatever you
a lot,
do,
even after
Lucky's mom. But no, the mouth of the South, the family mouthpiece
Saying
was
what you were saying
not
to the
charged.
prosecution was not the truth that day.
To the best of my ability, I was trying to recollect the truth.
You said it more than once, that your mom said it in passing as a joke. But like I said, my mom mentioned it in passing as a joke. Are you saying that that's not the case now?
It may have started as a joke, but it ultimately became the plan to murder Matt.
Well, I didn't ask about what it ultimately became. I asked about when you said she first mentioned it a week after you got there, that she said it in passing as a joke.
Yes.
And then you doubled down saying, but like I said, my mom said it in passing as a joke.
What I assumed was a joke, yes.
Were there any details in that first conversation with your mom, or did she just not have any details?
I don't recall.
You don't recall any details about hurting of Matt?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
I asked if you had any details of that first conversation with your mom a week after you got there that you referred to as a joke. Were there any details about how to hurt Matt? what the way to hurt Matt was.
I think it was always shooting him.
Do you recall if that was the conversation in that first conversation you had with your mom about it?
No, I do not recall.
Do you recall testifying to the court today, or not today, yesterday, about the knife?
Yes, I do.
About how your mom showed you the knife?
Yes, I do.
About how you didn't touch it? Your mom showed it to you.
Correct.
It was in a glove or something,
Yes.
in a wicker basket in the laundry room.
Yes, it was.
Do you recall talking about the knife when you were with the prosecution and the investigator on June 12th?
No, I do not.
Do you remember saying that I just grabbed it? And I was like, I don't want to touch it.
I never grabbed it. I went to grab it and then I thought, oh, I'm not touching that.
Do you recall saying it was a really short conversation? She showed it to me and I don't know where. There was so much else to the conversation. And then they said, what was your response? And you said, I just grabbed it. And I was like, I don't want to touch it at that point. So here we are, still a week out from coming in. I think so. Do you remember saying that?
I don't remember saying that because I know that for a fact that I never grabbed the knife.
Then why did you lie to the prosecution and to the detective saying that you grabbed it?
That may be a misprint, honestly, because I never grabbed the knife. I thought about it. And when I went to grab it, I said, nope, I'm not touching that.
So you had the first time about a week after you got to Utah saying that your mom was going to ambush or hurt Matt or something. You said it was a joke. When was the second time?
I don't recall.
When was the next time?
There was many little conversations about it.
Little conversations about it?
Yes.
Like what kind of details?
Like that I needed to say that Matt liked digital camo because the knife was digital camo and Matt owns nothing in camo to make the story plausible.
Are you making this up today?
No, I am not.
When the question was asked, when was the next time that she made a comment to you about hurting or anguishing Matt? Do you remember what you said at that June 12th interview?
No, I do not.
When he decided to come out to pick me up. So you said at that initial interview, because you were being honest and you wanted to be honest, didn't you?
I was doing my best to be as honest as possible.
You wanted to be honest, didn't you?
Yes.
And you were doing all you could to be honest with the detective, right?
Yes.
And they asked, when was this next time that she made a comment about it? And you said the day he was coming out. And do you remember what day that was?
What day he came out?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was murdered.
That's a good one. She was recording every dang on
So
thing
the
now.
next comment that she made about it was on July 12th, according to your truthful testimony to get the plea agreement, right?
If that's what it says, yes.
And on that day, you told her by text that he's coming out, right?
On July 12th?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
You texted, he's coming to California, he's coming to Utah.
I believe so.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have that as an exhibit, right?
Yes.
You've seen that text, right?
Yes.
And what did she say?
I don't recall what she said. Should we open the binder?
I think she said, I'll call you.
Okay.
Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Do you remember when you were asked about that with the detective in your interview?
No, I do not.
I told her, I said, Kevin's on his way. And she said, oh, okay. Was this a telephone conversation you had with her after? You told her that Kevin was coming or Matt was coming?
Yes,
And we've seen the reports of the telephone conversation, right?
yes.
And what did she say when you told her? Did she say, I'm coming home?
On the phone call?
Yeah.
Yes, she said that she was coming home. She was finishing up her appointment that she had, canceling her appointments that she had in the afternoon, and that she'd be home in the early afternoon.
And then you said she seemed ready to do it.
She did.
Why did she say that?
That she seemed ready to murder Matt
Oh, yeah, why did you say she seemed ready to do it?
because she seemed ready. She seemed like she was preparing herself mentally to pull the trigger if she had to.
Okay, that's not what you said in the interview. In the interview, you said, because they said, why did she say that? You said, because she was prepping the house. She was putting blankets on the couch. So you talked about a telephone conversation you had with her, and then you automatically revert to many hours later where she's prepping the house. And so you said she seemed ready to do it.
She did.
So why did you say she seemed ready to do it at the telephone conversation?
I don't recall what was said in the telephone conversation
Isn't it true that
per word.
Isn't it true that at this point in your conversation with the detective that they were getting frustrated with your lack of insight to this case?
I cannot speak on how they were feeling.
Didn't you hear them say their frustration with you about lack of insight and being honest during this interview?
I don't recall them voicing their frustration, no.
Show us the
Did
frustration.
you discuss any other logistics with
trying
you
to
that day?
kick her credibility in the crotch. Like,
Logistics as
show
far
it.
as what?
The killing of Matt,
On how it was going to happen?
the logistics, yeah.
Yes, on who was going to pull the trigger, where Kevin was going to be, where she was planning on being, where Rory and Jacob were going to be, yes. Where my children were supposed to be, yes.
Do you remember what you said to the police officer on June 12th? When asked that exact question?
No, I do not.
Did she discuss any logistics with you? And your response was, I don't think so. Remember saying that?
If that's what it says, then that's what I said.
There wasn't really much like how it was going to happen. Do you remember saying that?
We talked about where Kevin was going to be.
No, you didn't say that. On this day of the interview, you said there wasn't really much like how it was going to happen. She kind of left me in the dark with that. Remember saying that?
I don't remember saying that, but if it's written, it must have come out. of my
Do you
mouth.
acknowledge you said that?
Yes,
And this is the day you're there to be as truthful as possible, right?
to the best of my ability, yes.
And this is the day that the prosecution had all your text messages available and they had opportunities to question you about your story on how this homicide of Matt occurred, right?
Correct.
And then right after you said, she left me in the dark. Then they asked, like Kevin was going to be downstairs and I was going to be upstairs. Is that what she told you? And you said, yeah. You said she was making preparations. What other preparations? She removed my kids' toy baskets in front of the fireplace. My son steals toys. And so she moved those into the garage so they'd be out of the way. Remember saying that?
Yes.
But she didn't talk to you about what was actually going to happen in relation to his homicide, did she? I mean, you said she left me in the dark on that.
I'm going to object to vague. Is he asking for what she said then, or is she asking for now?
What she said then.
All right, let's rephrase it. So with it being understood what you said then, allegedly.
State that one more time, please.
Do you recall on various occasions talking to Matt on his way to Utah?
I do.
And do you recall what you were talking about when he, what to do when he arrived?
I do.
Do you recall asking him multiple times if he was going to come inside?
I do.
Why did you ask him that?
Make sure that he came inside.
Do you remember what you said to the detective?
Cold.
Prosecution when you were asked that question?
Ooh,
I
cold.
do not.
Because I wanted to have a conversation with him.
Is that the detective the night of?
Yeah. Do you recall having asking him multiple times he's going to come
Well,
inside?
sure, he said
Yes,
she
I
lied.
did.
We know she
Why
lied.
did you ask him that? Because I wanted to have a conversation with him.
But yesterday she
Isn't
said
it
she
true
wanted to pop it.
that the
So,
first idea of luring Matt to the house through these conversations and these text messages and all of these things came from the detective and prosecution? And that you never had an idea of your luring until they presented that narrative to you.
I knew I was luring him to Utah. I didn't acknowledge it.
You acknowledge it after your plea when you got a reduction in your sentence, though, don't you?
Yes.
And you acknowledge it when you're here today, don't you?
Yes.
But you didn't acknowledge it when you're being as truthful as you could, right?
Yes.
Until it was first presented to you that you were luring Matt to Utah.
Yes.
Did you want Matt to come to Utah?
No, I did not.
So the whole idea of luring him to Utah had nothing to do with any plan. Your plan was to keep him in California and avoid him, right?
I wanted that as an option. Yes.
What was your other option? To murder him?
A peaceful divorce.
Okay, then it wasn't to murder him. It was to keep him in California and a peaceful divorce.
That would have been the happy ending.
Robert, yeah, it's
What did you think was going to happen when Matt finally said, I'm
you back in.
driving the truck at 250?
Hey,
I knew what it meant. as
What
far
did you
as-
think was going to happen when Matt decided to drive to Utah?
I knew it would end in his death.
Really? Do you remember what you said to the detective and the prosecution on the day you were going to be your most honest because you wanted to be honest? Do you remember what you said?
No, I do not remember.
I honestly thought she was going to let me talk to him. Remember saying that?
No, I don't.
Who is the she in that sentence?
Tracey.
Yeah. You thought that Tracey was going to let you talk to him, right?
On some level, I guess.
What you thought? You thought she was about to
Thank you.
punk him into a divorce?
Because
You gonna let us stay here and not file nothing? And
you
my
thought you
brother-in-law,
have to have
like,
that
what?
very, very
Talk to him
positive
for what? After that
conversation.
situation, you got him walking in the dark, and somebody already got something in their hands to take him out.
She told me not to come downstairs. She
I'm
told me.
I'm asking what you thought. I'm asking what you thought. I honestly thought she was going to let me talk to him. Are you being honest when you're saying that? I mean, you started it with honestly. I mean,
Unfortunately, I don't think I was being 100% honest. When I
you
said
weren't.
that. No, I don't think so. Because
So-
I know for a fact that she was going to kill him.
So when you went there and spoke to
Right,
them,
so he
you
finna go
decided
back
you're going to go there and lie.
I'm sorry?
When you went and spoke to the prosecution and the detective on June 12th, you decided that you're actually going to go and lie to them.
That wasn't my intention.
That's what you're
how it
saying
came
right
out.
now. Isn't that what you're saying right now?
Yes, that wasn't my intention, but it's how it came out.
I honestly thought she's going to let me talk to him. And then they said, what do you mean? I didn't think that she would ambush him like that. Is that a lie? Were you lying on June 12th on that one too?
Honestly, I didn't think that she was gonna ultimately kill him. I didn't
Thank
think that
you.
she would actually pull the trigger. I asked her not to do it that day, and she told me she was going to do it anyway.
Do you remember my question?
Nope.
Okay, I'll rephrase my question. I'll restate my question. Was that a lie? I didn't think that she would ambush him like that. Was that a lie?
Yes.
So you actually went to the state and to the detective to lie.
It wasn't my original intention. That's how it came out. And maybe I was being stupid and trying to protect my mother and my brother
Protect them from what?
from life in prison.
Why? You're going there to testify and to provide them the information of their involvement in the murder. So how are you going there to protect them if your purpose was the opposite? That doesn't make sense, does it?
No, it doesn't. You're
Then why are
right.
you saying that?
Why am I saying what?
That you went there to protect Kevin and your mom?
Because on some level, they are still my family. And as the time has progressed, I have learned things about my mother.
Okay, so let's get back to the question. Why did you go to the prosecutor, to the detective, through your lawyer, through the proffers, to protect your mom and your brother when your purpose was to go there to tell them that you conspired to murder Matt?
Because I wasn't thinking.
Okay. I thought that I would be able to at least talk to him and have a little conversation with him. I'm trying to get to you, Kate, is you're telling the truth here. You actually did think you'd have an opportunity to have a conversation with him, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Even though you said it 3 times to these detectives, to these prosecutors.
And I
Objection,
also said it.
asked and answered several times.
Let's move on.
However, you had talked to your mom earlier or later that day and asked to not go through with it, didn't you?
I did.
You said that. Told her you didn't want to do it, right?
Yes.
So when you told her you didn't want to do it, you thought you'd be able to have at least a chance to talk to him, have a conversation when you told her, I don't want to do it, right?
I didn't think that I would be able to talk to Matt. Not in person.
Do you remember
anyway.
the question? I mean, I know you want to always answer the way you want to
Objection,
answer.
argumentative.
I think it's argumentative.
Then I'd ask that she be instructed to answer the questions and not to give her narrative of whatever she wants to narrate about.
Ms. Restelli, you need to ask the question that's asked you, not the question you want to ask.
Yes, Your Honor.
So isn't it true that you wanted to talk to Matt and that's why you said to her, I don't want to go through with it?
No,
Then why did you say it to her?
because I didn't want him to die.
So you didn't want to talk to him, but you didn't want him to die.
Correct.
So you didn't want to have a conspiracy to murder him. You wanted to retreat from that.
Yes.
Thank you. At 9:17, you texted your mom, right?
AM or PM?
AM. July 12th, 9:17. right?
Yes,
And then she said, I'll call you, right?
yes,
And then at 10:45, so it was like an hour and a half passed away, right?
Okay.
Do you remember that conversation?
yes, I do.
And what did she say?
I'd have to open the binder.
No, the telephone conversation.
She said she was coming home early. She was canceling her appointments and that she'd be home.
Do you remember saying, she said, don't worry, we'll handle it. Just don't worry about it.
Sounds plausible. Sounds like something she would say. Yes.
Is it something you said, she said?
Yes.
Yeah. And did you indicate you were troubled and upset because you didn't want him to come out?
I believe so. Yes.
And right at that point is when the prosecution and the detectives were just sort of fed up with your lack of accountability, weren't they?
Object to speculation.
Sustained. Argumentative as well.
And right at that point, they said,
I'm going to object to hearsay if he's going to quote something we said at this point.
didn't they say to you, we need you to be truthful?
I believe so.
Why did they say that, do you think?
Oh, excuse me.
For that exact reason. They
What-
needed me to be truthful.
Well, you had just spent 11 pages on talking to them. Why are they now saying you need to be truthful?
I don't know.
Well, maybe it's because you said that I
Objection,
only
Your
had.
Honor.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to swear.
Objection, he's testifying. He's just speculating as to what her reason is for her answer.
Yes, sustained.
Thank you. Do you think they asked you to be truthful because they weren't believing your story?
Quite possibly.
They weren't believing that you said, she said it as a joke?
I'm not sure what they were not believing.
Do you think it's because you said, she said, don't worry about it, it will be okay?
I don't know.
Do you think it's because you said, honestly, I wanted to talk to Matt and I didn't want it to happen?
I don't know.
Do you think that they said that because they had a conspiracy charge and they wanted you to confirm the conspiracy charge?
More than likely.
Yes. And so you started changing your story at that point, didn't you?
I'm not sure.
Including today, changing your statement.
Being more truthful, yes.
And including the day of the Kevin Ellis trial, when the last thing you said on one day was, really didn't talk to Kevin. And then the very next day you said, oh, I had a full conversation in the lawn right after sushi. Right?
Is that a question?
Yes.
Yes.
She's irritated, and so are you, sir.
And when they said to you to be more truthful, they asked, you didn't have a plan in place. Right?
I believe so.
They said, but you had to do something with the plan for him to come out. And you said, right? Do you remember saying that?
Not off the top of my head, but if that's what's in the transcript.
So
is-
you knew that to be correct. And do you know what you said to that?
No, I do not.
You said, yes. And they wanted, I want to hear it. And you said, yes. Their narrative for you to comply with. Correct?
Yes.
Yes. At one point, you had to tell them, I'm being honest with you. Remember that?
No, I don't.
I'm being honest with you. And that's what happened. If I told you you said that, do you have any reason to disagree with that?
No.
And then they said, you keep saying I didn't want him to die. And then you said, I didn't. Was that a lie?
No, because I didn't want him to die.
And it was at this point where they used the word lure. Do you remember them using that word with you?
Yes, I do.
And is that when it clicked in your mind that I did engage with him and lured him to the house?
That's a strong possibility.
Do you remember them asking you then, what is your role in this murder of Matt?
I don't recall that, but I'm sure it was asked.
The very end of your interview. And then you offered getting him to come out.
Yes,
And when did you and your co-conspirators decide that was your role? When she first offered the ambush?
more than likely.
That's not true, is it?
What's not true?
Well, you said previously the ambush was a joke. You didn't know what your role was when you said it was a joke? How would you know your role when you said it was a joke? You didn't know when your role is. Do you know what the right answer is? Don't you?
Object is either argumentative or a compound question. I think there were 3 questions in there, but it was definitely argumentative.
I'm going to sustain the objection as to 1 being argumentative and 2 is a compound question.
You couldn't know your role when you already referred to it as a joke from your mom. Do you agree with that?
No.
You disagree. So you did know your role when it was a joke from your mom.
Yes.
You knew your role a week after you got to Utah when your mom joked about the ambush because your role was to get Matt out, right?
That would have been my role, yes.
Yes.
Because she sure couldn't get him out there.
No. And you did everything you could in those next 2 weeks to get him out, didn't you? You hired him a car, didn't you?
No,
You bought him an airplane ticket, didn't you?
no,
You had his friend's neighbor's sister drive him out for you, didn't you?
no.
Then how would you know your role? When did you know that he was coming to Utah?
On the 12th?
Exactly. You didn't know your role when she first made the joke about an ambush because the only time you knew of that potential role would have been the 12th, right?
No,
So you did know that you were going to lure him to Utah before the 12th.
in the context of a joke, yes, I would have to lure him out.
So when did you know your role?
I'm not sure.
Isn't it true? It was July 12th. That's the only logical answer, isn't it?
That's when it was solidified.
And you talked about it with her about your role before that.
Yes,
Even though in this interview you said you didn't talk about any logistics.
yes,
Do you see you're contradicting yourself, Kate?
I understand that.
I'm just gonna show this picture. Here's a second picture. You recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
That is, I believe, the second interview I had with Detective Nordine.
Same day as your interview, right?
Is it the same day? I know that I had a follow-up interview with Detective Nordine.
Do you consider these to be the same day?
Yes,
And so after you concluded your interview with Detective Nordine and the prosecution, there was a break in the interview, wasn't there?
I believe so.
And then you waited, and then at least Detective Nordine came back in to talk to you again. Do you remember
Yes.
that?
Yes, to ask follow-up questions.
This was after you came to be truthful, right?
Yes,
And after you said your story in the beginning, right?
yes,
And after they then had to remind you, you're here to be truthful, right?
yes,
And then after you said, I'm being honest, right?
yes,
And then you came back for your second batch of conversations. And you started talking about Matt and the things he had done to get better, didn't you?
I don't think I know what you're talking about.
Stop drinking.
Yes, for 2 weeks.
Yeah. So while you were gone, Matt made an attempt to improve himself.
Yes, that's what he claimed.
You just can't say yes, can you?
Nope.
Why?
I don't like the,
Being honest.
I do like being honest.
Why don't you just say yes? Why is it hard?
Because I feel like you're not telling the whole truth.
Just reading your words, Kate. Do you believe that?
Yes,
Thank you. And isn't it true when you came back after your round of interview and came back with the detective, you said like at this point it was solidified that he was going to be murdered. And they asked what time? Do you remember when that time was?
no, I do not.
You said 2:10. Why would you say 2:10?
I was assuming the time.
I misspoke. You said, like at this point, it was not solidified that he was going to be murdered. Do you remember saying that?
No, I do not.
And what time was that? And you said 2:10. Do you know what 2:10 was referring to?
No, I do not.
It's referring to July 12th, wasn't it?
That's what it says.
Well, do you have any reason to disagree with it? Did you say, I was super happy I'd stopped drinking?
I was hopeful, yes.
Did you say, I was super happy that he stopped drinking?
Yes,
Thank you. And were you being honest about that?
yes,
And isn't it true that you said at 2:10, it was not solidified that he was going to be murdered?
yes,
And then a little bit later, you talked to the detective about the hotel money that your mom offered.
I'm sorry?
You talked to the detective about the hotel money your mom offered.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
yes,
And your mom offered to let Matt stay at the house, right?
she told
Is
me.
that a yes?
She told me to tell him, yes,
Yeah, okay. So your mom offered that, right?
yes,
Thank you. Your mom also offered, instead of staying at the house, that she could provide a couple $100 for hotel if needed, right?
yes,
Your mom also indicated she knew he had driven 10 plus hours, right?
yes,
And that if you're leaving right away, there might be a hotel maybe in St. George that she would provide for, right?
yes,
Your mom knew that he was coming for a long drive, right?
yes,
Free whoever nodded Corey.
And you said
and let her have cake
I feel
for
like at this point it was 50-50. Didn't you?
Yes.
So even after the texts about the hotel, after the texts about staying at the night at the house, at that point, you're being honest and you still felt like it was 50-50 whether or not he was going to be murdered, right?
Yes.
That means there really isn't an agreement at this point, is there? It was still 50-50.
To my understanding, yes.
Which is quite different than your
Get her.
story earlier in your testimony, that it was always the plan, that it was going to happen, it's for sure going to happen. But the day you're going to be truthful, until you started getting questioned about your truthfulness and had to come up with an idea of your luring, did you start changing your story to the narrative of the detective? Isn't that true?
Yes.
Sorry. We ended yesterday's testimony with my question regarding your contact with Kevin. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Excuse me. And the last question, virtually asked in your testimony, the question was asked, did you have any interactions between him, meaning Kevin, between 3 and 9:30 or 3 o'clock?
Back to this question again.
And what was your answer? Do you remember?
No.
You said, I don't believe so. So specific question, what was your interaction with Kevin between 2:30 and 9:30 or 3 to 10? And did you have any interactions? You said, I don't believe so. And then that was the end of the day, wasn't it? The end of your testimony that day.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the very next day you came to court, right?
Yes.
And then you came up with a whole new story, didn't you?
Came up with?
Yeah. You testified about a whole new story, didn't you?
I shared the details, yes.
You testified about a whole new story, didn't you?
Objection asked and answered.
I don't think she does answer it, Judge. She gives a narrative and then I don't know. I lose it on the narrative.
You
So is that
playing.
a yes, Your Honor? Did she say yes? Okay, yes. And the new story that you're saying, your new testimony, is that now you had a meeting in the yard area, front or back, I don't know which, with Tracey, yourself, and Kevin after they get back from sushi, right?
Yes.
Never told that to the prosecutor on June 12th, right?
Right.
Never told it to the prosecutor on your first day of trial, did you?
I don't believe so.
No, you even ended by saying, I didn't have any interaction with him, right?
Yes.
All right. But you got a chance to sleep on it. During your interview, when did you decide that you had a meeting with Tracey and Kevin in the yard after sushi?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
When did you decide you had a meeting with Tracey, Kevin, and you after sushi on July 12th, 2024, the day Matt was murdered?
When did I decide? I'm not sure I understand why you're using that question or using that word.
You didn't decide to tell people of it during your interview on June 12th, right?
I'm going to object as vague. When did you decide to tell or when did you decide?
I think you changed your question. Let's rephrase it so we know what you're asking.
Sir, this helps the hell out of Kevin. I'm not sure what it's doing for your client.
Well, I didn't say, when did you decide to tell? Judge, because,
It's vague.
so now I'm going to make some argument. I didn't ask, when did she decide to tell? Because we all know when she decided to tell. It was the next day at court. My question was, when did you decide?
When did you decide what?
To tell the story that you said the second day of court.
All right, we'll say that question so it's clear what you're asking.
When did you decide to tell the story about a meeting between you, Tracey, and Kevin in the yard after sushi?
I don't recall.
But you would acknowledge your time and interaction with Kevin was minimal, right?
Yes.
Did you ever have an occasion to talk with your mom about Kevin in March of 2024?
I believe there was text messages about Kevin's mental state.
And was there a conversation about Kevin being one to kill Matt?
Yes.
Was that done jokingly?
I don't believe so.
So you think in March, before Matt even came to
But I
Utah,
thought it was a
before
joke.
you even left
Definitely wasn't no
to go
damn
to
joke.
Utah,
We know that.
before you found out about you're not doing Las Vegas, and right after Disney, you think it was serious?
Yes, I do.
But we know it was serious,
Even
sir.
though
He
you said
ain't
it
here.
was a joke on June 12th.
Did I say that the March one was a joke?
Well, the question was asked. That's a good question, even though you're not allowed to ask me questions, but that's a good question. You were asked, what was the context of that conversation?
Oh, excuse me.
You said, just simply that. It was sad. She was talking about Kevin feeling, how Kevin was feeling, and it was, again, she made it sound like, what do you think I'm going to say?
A joke?
Yes, like a joke.
Sir, this wench is a cold-hearted snake, and we know she did whatever she needed to
Seconds
do
later,
get back to her
she's
being
like,
able
well, Kevin's sad.
all these
He'll take
men.
care of it.
She been
Needed to
inviting the
take-
hotels and everything else. That woman just
It's a
wants to
joke,
be.
right?
She just wants to lay it low and
I mean,
spread it wide. She ain't
I'm
worried
being
about
honest.
kids and nothing else. Just let her go
What
do
she
her
was
time.
thinking was probably a joke, but I knew that she was serious, and I know that I shared that information with Tara Lynn, and we both.
That Tara
were
Lynn
very
talk
excited.
kind of
Tara Lynn, Your Honor.
co-conspirator. I don't know
That's
what
she cannot
is.
talk for someone else. She can only talk for herself.
That's hearsay. Only talk about you.
I know when I spoke with Tara Lynn that I thought it was very sad.
Whose attorney is he?
And
He's
you
her
considered
mom's
it a
attorney,
joke.
the defendant, Tracey Grist.
I don't think it was a joke.
Okay. At that time, you were sending texts like, I hate Matt, right?
Yes,
I can't stand having kids with him, right?
I believe I hate the fact that I have kids with him.
Right.
Yes.
I don't know why he playing. I don't know why he is playing, wasting our time. At this point, everybody knows
The detective said,
she needs
at
to
this
do
point, do you
what
still
she
think
got.
it's a joke? This is June 12th. He's following in on the joke. Do you think
Listen,
it's getting a little more serious? It's getting a little more serious, you said. So he even asked, do you think it's a joke? And you said, it's getting a little more serious. At this point,
ruin and doing
so we're
all
still a week out,
so much
what do
your
you know of her conversations with
mate.
Kevin?
Baby.
And do you remember what you said?
No, I do not.
A week out. I don't know of any conversations with Kevin. Were you lying to him?
Is Matt's
I
mama
was not
still with
part
you?
of any conversation.
Still amongst the
between
land of the living? Because if
my
so,
mom
she
and Kevin.
deserves to go take a
You know,
bathroom
a
break.
conversation between your mom and Kevin on
there
the day of sushi when you had it in the yard that you decided to drop a bomb during the last trial.
Yes, that is true.
Weren't you just really being honest here when you said that?
In which
When you said, I don't know of any conversations with Kevin.
No, I don't believe.
She could have not had a conversation with Kevin and still had one with her mama. Okay, like what she did or did not do with Kevin does not change anything with her mama. And Kevin gone.
Your testimony yesterday, you talked about Kevin being downstairs watching video on the couch when all the prep for the murder was to take place, right?
I don't believe that's what I stated.
What did you state?
That he was downstairs on the couch watching movies when Matt was said to arrive, not during the prep of the house.
Yeah, she said her and her
You were
mom
asking-
took some blankets
you
out
asked
herself.
Kevin watch mom make any of the preparations?
No, I don't remember that question.
And
She
you
didn't
remember what
say
your
that.
response was?
Nope.
I don't believe so. I think he was
Sorry,
still,
I'm just gonna ask for clarification on
I'm sorry,
when that question was being asked.
June 12th, the day she was before the prosecution and the detective, to be honest. Remember that conversation?
No,
You remember that day and that conversation with them, right? Not the
I
specific.
remember
one.
having that conversation, yes.
Yes. And you said, I don't believe so. I think he was still upstairs in his room. Did you see Kevin that day? Do you remember what your response was?
My response was no.
Your response was, in passing. Not in the front yard having a conversation about the murder. On the day you're there to be most honest, on the day you're clinching your plea.
You know, I'm gonna
Is that a
object to,
question?
I'm gonna have to
Yes.
strike that.
And that was the day in which you were clinching your plea, wasn't it?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
You were there for the interview based on the information you provided the prosecution to clinch your responsibilities related to your plea, to provide them a statement of the truth.
Yes,
And you said, I saw him in passing. Correct?
yes.
They followed up with that. How did he seem? So now they want to know, like, is there anything else that happened on that day? The day Matt's driving out to Utah? You know, we really want to know what's going on that day.
Your Honor, I'm gonna object to that and ask that it be stricken. Speculating as to any of our intentions.
I think you need to talk on it.
And they said, how did he seem? I'll accept it. And they said, how did he seem? And do you remember what you said?
No,
He seemed fine, like normal, like any other day. Do you remember saying that?
no, I don't remember saying that.
Do you agree you said that?
Yes,
He doesn't have kids, so my kids are a lot.
yes, I remember saying that.
And so he just keeps to himself and just avoids me and my rambunctious kiddos.
Yes,
And then they said, what was his demeanor? Was it different after sushi? So they really get on the line here, don't they?
yes,
They want to know about after sushi, don't they?
yes.
Do you know why that's important?
No,
Well, would you acknowledge that this would be your first opportunity to have a face-to-face with your co-conspirator murderers once you find out Matt's on his way? Right?
my first opportunity.
To be face-to-face with your co-conspirators.
Yes,
Because mom's at work, isn't she? When you found out Matt was coming from California. And so they asked. And then do you remember what your response was when they said? after
Yes,
sushi?
she is with them. Yes.
no,
You said, no, I don't think so. His demeanor wasn't different. Did you see him after sushi? Maybe. Isn't it true you said maybe?
if that's what's written, yes,
He seemed fine. Isn't that true?
yes.
Your Honor, may we approach briefly?
He seemed happy.
You losing me, sir. Miss Sheila, now that I know that he suffered from depression, and they knew what they were doing when they asked him to do it. Ain't either one of them cowards do it themselves. They knew he was suffering. Yeah, they just cold-hearted, evil snakes. And usually it's so sad because, not to make it any better, but usually when people get desperate enough to do something of this magnitude, they're trying to clinch onto something. They're trying to get a benefit. They're trying to keep the house, the cars. They're trying to get insurance policies. They're trying to get control of something. She was broke in the marriage. She didn't get nothing after. Like, there was nothing. You still broke. Like, what was the absolute reason for doing this besides this man would just be unalived?
You voluntarily come forward to be honest. They ask you about after the sushi between Mom and Kevin, and they said, "Did you see him?" And your response was, "No."
Right, her and that Wendy just to move.
In what's written, yes.
What you said.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
You want to move that bad? Leave the kids with him.
He seemed fine. Is that accurate?
Yes.
He seemed happy. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And I know this sounds crazy, and I'm not in this position, but I know I told y'all my aunt did this. To be honest, if he would have made such a big damn deal, same thing with Dan Markell. If he would have made such a big dag blast deal about those kids moving with you, leave them. Leave them. Okay, well, they'll stay with you. I'm taking this job opportunity. I'll set up my visitation and then only show up on your visitation. When Dan Markell would have realized, or when he's trying to do all these jobs, that he has to physically be in these places where Matt had to go and be physically away from his kids and have to figure out daycare and all of that, let them struggle for a second if they was going to fight you for it. And then they'd be like, you know what? Hell no, you got to kick in. You just can't come once a week, once a month and try to help me with these kids. These kids need dinner tonight. Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? And then they would have been forced to make a decision. Okay, I was about to, here I come. Yeah, I did, like, just force them into an agreement to make it amicable for each other, because they're like, you're in this situation where you're trying to win. They'll be back so quick. My aunt did that. I think I told y'all about that. My aunt did that, and her husband was doing his best, and he knew that the one thing that she was not going to let go of was those boys. She wouldn't do it. She wouldn't do it. I'm not leaving my kids. What kind of a mother? And my great grandmother told her, a good one. A good one. He their daddy, just like you, their mother. He can take care of his kids. If you need to go and take that job elsewhere, go take your job, go get your job, go get yourself together, and go set up and get ready for your kids, because they coming. That's exactly what my great grandmother told her. She left, took her job, and she wouldn't even come back home for holidays. She had already planned not to come home for holidays. They didn't make it 2 weeks into that agreement, and he was like, you ain't coming to get them this weekend. You ain't got no time for them. You ain't gonna come get them. I got stuff to do. I gotta work on Saturday. I gotta do this. She said, no, the agreement is I get them the last weekend of every month. They come here to Cincinnati with me. And he said, no, I'll get them a bus ticket. He was willing to put the kids on the Greyhound bus by themselves. Some of you just be there to pick them up. He couldn't do it because they had basketball practice. One had track. One had needed a tutor. Before he could even get off work good, they had 1,000 places to go and to be picked up from. And he still ain't figured out dinner. He could not figure it out without her. He was forced to work with her. Like, the fact that you want to move, you just end somebody's life. But not only did you end his life, you took away these kids' father. You could have divorced him. He ain't got to be with you, but he was going to forever be these kids' father, and you decided that he can't be. Just crazy, man.
Sorry. Judge, I just taking the whole room here. Sorry. Sorry, Judge, I've misplaced.
Take a moment and just check your notes. You're fine. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to stand up and stretch a minute while Mr. Pacemeyer is checking his notes, then you're welcome to do that. We won't do a formal recess because this will just be a minute or two. I didn't say counsel. Sorry, you should stand up. Was it the paper that maybe fell on the floor, Mr. Pacemeyer?
Oh, I actually just had it, and so now I'm confused at my, underneath my pictures. I found it, I'm sorry.
That's all right. A lot of moving pieces, you understand.
Okay. And then further, there was a lot of questions that the detectives and the prosecution had about Kevin, right?
Yes.
And the reason they had questions about it was because we all know Kevin is the one who shot the gun, right?
Yes.
And so they want to know, obviously, what your communication with Kevin is like. So they asked those questions, didn't they?
Yes.
And they said, tell me everything about that part of it. And do you remember what you responded to by saying?
No.
You said, I didn't talk to Kevin that much. Remember that?
Yes.
And they asked, so anything else that was said about that? And you responded, the conversation between my mom, between Tracey and Kevin, I really don't have much knowledge of.
Correct.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, you certainly had knowledge about some alleged meeting in the yard where Kevin agreed and you had a conversation about it.
Between the three of us.
And she's sitting up there with a straight face making jokes yesterday.
Is
Sick.
there something you didn't know about Kevin as a result of this case?
I had no idea he used cocaine.
Indeed, Kevin was under the influence of cocaine the night of the shooting. Isn't that true? It's okay to just give a one-word answer, yes or no.
Yes.
Thank you. And when Kevin came out and shot your husband, the father of your children, he was under the influence of cocaine, wasn't he?
Yes.
Who said it?
Isn't it true that you came to...
Who said that? Who said that earlier? Miss Sheila, did the mom give him something before? Hot damn, Miss Sheila.
To be honest.
Yes.
Isn't it true that you were going to present to them your honest statements of what you knew best?
Yes.
Isn't it true that you are going to come to them with your best ability of memory?
Yes.
Isn't it true that in your first interview with the detectives and the prosecution that you gave them your honest answers?
No.
Now you're saying you lied.
I wasn't 100% truthful, correct?
Isn't it true that you came to them and informed them that you didn't have communications with Kevin during that June 12th interview?
I'm sorry, what's the
Isn't it
question?
true? I'll restate.
I'm going to object to asked and answered.
Isn't it true, Kate, that your versions of the events have constantly changed based on the narrative that the detective was informing you of the conspiracy?
No,
It has not changed?
I don't agree with the word constantly.
Okay. That it is numerous times changed to conform with the narrative of the detective for the conspiracy?
He did not.
No.
He did not take
Isn't it
the stand.
true
That's that, Miss Laura. Kevin did not take the stand.
that Kevin just decided to remove from your life
Oh, they
the
manipulate
hardest
him.
part of your life?
I
being
know that
Matt,
he's sober now
and
and
came
probably
out
got
and
some
shot
medication.
Matt?
He probably know he was set up from
I'm
birth
not sure I understand the
with
question
this
that you're
as a
saying.
big sister and that
Isn't it
as a
true
mom.
that you built up this fear of Matt amongst your family when you came to Utah?
My family had first experience.
Is that a yes or a no, Nate? Kate?
Yes,
Thank you. Isn't it true that Kevin knew you were fearful of Matt?
yes,
Isn't it true that Kevin felt a obligation to protect you from Matt?
Objection, speculation.
Isn't it true that Kevin sent you a text advising you that he would protect you from Matt?
the word protection was never used.
What did he use?
He said if, I don't recall the text message, but he said that he could be home.
He could be home. And what did you think that implied?
That he would be there to protect me, not necessarily shoot Matt, but to protect me.
Thank you. And it wouldn't be to shoot Matt because you didn't know that was going to happen, right?
Not in that instance.
No. And that instance, thank you. That instance was when he was in Wendover, right?
I believe that's where he was.
Yeah. And he was in Wendover while you were in Utah.
Yes,
And so when you say not that instance, you're actually contradicting yourself because you say the whole time you were in Utah, it was the plan to kill Matt.
no, that's not what I stated.
Okay.
Now I wonder if any of the jurors had a did any kind of like interview or anything after Kevin Ellis's trial, because now I know that Kevin Ellis was not actually charged with, or he was not convicted of the conspiracy. I wonder if those jurors, it's not like what I was saying before where they may not possibly have enough evidence for a conspiracy. What if they figured out that they ain't even helped, like he wasn't part of the planning, that Matt did what he did and he was wrong and he deserves to have, be charged for it or be in the verdict go the way it did, but they don't think he planned it. They don't think he was part of it. They didn't consider him enough. They rugged him up and told him what to do. Now I'm wondering. I wonder if a juror has spoken. I'm gonna be in a rabbit hole.
And that while he was in Wendover, when you had the conversation about him not using the word protect, but you felt it as being a protection, right?
From day one, he was going to protect me.
That Kevin said, I'll be back in case Matt comes, right?
It's because it don't
He
feel.
never had to say that before, did he?
I know my feelings ain't facts, but
You can say no if that's the truth.
Ooh,
On the very
hey.
first night I got there.
And them
Kevin
other
told me to
siblings
go
ain't
sleep on the
shit.
couch.
Why ain't no
Because
big
Judge,
brother
I would ask that you
help
strike this.
or do it?
because
Why
she's
the
not
little brother
answering the
got?
question.
Man, come on now. Why Tara Lynn ass ain't get up there and pop him? Since she know everything, since she's
Your understanding of that text was that Kevin was going to be a protection for you when Matt came to the house.
Yes,
And isn't it true that when he was in Wendover, Matt was not coming back at that time?
correct.
So your inclination or your statement that him shooting Matt is just not an accurate statement, is it?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
I think it's a poorly phrased question. I'll retract. When Kevin was in Wendover, you were texting with Kevin, and we've seen the texts in this trial, correct?
Yes,
And part of those texts was he offered to bring you weed, didn't he?
I asked him to bring me weed. Yes.
So that's a yes.
He didn't offer to bring me weed. I asked him to get it.
Okay. Because at that time you're still smoking daily.
Yes.
Didn't have your trailer though, did you?
Nope.
So you're just still a daily smoker.
Yes.
So much so that at one point Kevin had to send you a text saying, "Hey, I smell it," right? In the house.
Yes.
Yeah. And isn't it a fact that Kevin was there to be your protector because of the fear of Matt that you presented to your family?
Yes.
You presented it to Tara Lynn. Is that accurate?
Yes.
You presented it to Tracey.
Yes.
Physical fear, right?
Yes.
And you presented it to Kevin.
Yes.
And based on that fear is why Kevin shot and killed Matt. Is that right?
No.
Oh. He didn't do that based on your fear of Matt?
No, he did that on the basis of getting rid of him.
On the basis of what?
Getting rid of him.
Okay.
Ugh,
Because a divorce would
Say
just be
it.
too hard,
thick puppy, man.
I guess. Is that your answer?
Yes.
One moment, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Brennan, I believe you indicated you had some brief redirect.
Yes, Your Honor, briefly.
Thank you.
Okay, you were just talking with the defense attorney about your marijuana usage. right?
Yes.
You testified yesterday that the marijuana usage caused you memory issues. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did marijuana cause you to make up memories
I don't know.
or just make things fuzzy?
It makes things fuzzy.
It doesn't create memories in your mind, does it?
No.
You were also just asked just a second ago, divorce would have been too hard, right?
Yes.
And you were asked extensively yesterday by Mr. Facemeyer about Tracey's several divorces and how those seemed fine, right? Remember that line of questioning?
Yes.
You talked to a divorce attorney.
Yes, I did.
It wasn't just Google, as you were asked. Google wasn't your lawyer, was he?
No.
You talked to a lawyer
Yes, I did.
and you told the lawyer about your financial situation, right?
I did.
About your DV conviction, right?
Yes, I did.
About all the concerns that existed, right?
Yes.
And how did you walk away from that consultation feeling?
Defeated.
Was divorce an option?
In my head, no.
The recording of that call, you sent that to your mother, didn't you?
I did.
I may have misspoke yesterday, so I want to correct this. The recordings of you and Matt on the phone, did you record this with your phone or with your iPad?
With my iPad.
Okay, while you were on the phone with them?
Yes.
Okay, so those recordings would have come from the iPad.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. The defense asked you a question kind of towards the end that your story has changed several times to conform to the narrative of the detective. I want to break that up. Has your story changed over time?
Yes, it has.
Has it changed to conform to the narrative of the detective?
I don't believe so.
Why has it changed?
Because I've remembered things differently and I want to be more truthful.
Would you agree that in June of 2025, when we first met, would you agree you minimized your involvement in the case?
Yes, I did.
Would you agree you minimized Kevin's involvement?
Yes, I did.
Would you agree you even minimized your mom's involvement?
Yes.
Why?
I believe I was attempting to protect them and not realizing that I was actually hurting myself.
Okay. Would you agree that even up through the first day of Kevin's trial, you minimized Kevin's involvement?
Yes.
Why?
Again, I wasn't thinking and I was trying to protect him.
You feel bad for Kevin?
Yes.
Why?
because he put his life on the line to protect me from what he thought was a threat.
Brother.
Thank you. Any recross? Thank you. All right, Ms. Restelli, you may step down. Counselor, can I see you up
Thank
there
you.
for a moment, please? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to take our lunch break. Well, yeah, we know. We're going to take your lunch break early now. We're going to stay and do some legal matters with attorneys tonight in the courtroom. So just keep my admonition in mind about forming an opinion about the case, talking about the case, doing the research. Be back in time so that we can start hopefully about 1:30. That in mind?
All rise for the jury.
Thank you. Please be seated.
First order of business.
Mr. Brown, was there anything you needed to put on the record? Or did you want to talk with your client?
I was just going to ask that she be released from her subpoena so she can go. No? Okay.
Release her from transport. She can go today, but not.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Released for today. If we need her back, I'll have the state and Mr. Facebar coordinate with you. Fair enough? Yes. Thank you. All right. So I believe we have Mr. Scott Williams on the line.
Okay.
Mr. Ellis's attorney. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can we put him in here?
And Judge, we are asking for the prison to bring Kevin into the courtroom.
Is he on another floor? All right, so it's going to take a moment to get him down.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not.
Thank you for working around our schedule today. I know you've been in trial.
You're welcome. Thank you, Your Honor. Good to see everyone.
They probably got them on separate floors.
Could you say something again so we got feedback from you still?
Good morning.
Good morning, that's much better. They're bringing your client down from another floor, so it'll take just a moment or two and then we'll bring you right in.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's fine.
It's going to take a moment because we can't have them cross paths.
So isn't she locked up in this holding cell?
Yes, but Mr. Brown is.
The brother.
right now.
The brother that suffered from depression that we just found out was on the booger sugar when he did what he did. He took it to trial and his sister took a deal. The sister he's supposed to be protecting. So I wonder if they really had him thinking that this man was crazy and that he was coming to hurt somebody. Kevin, yes.
Well, let's just take a brief recess, Mr. Basemeyer. So
But I'm
it's not
sure they,
everybody
you
can
know, for
talk about
security
5 minutes
purposes, they're not
and
gonna have
then
them
on
housed in the
back to
same
the
area.
that you
And
presented.
for real,
We
for
hear
her
what the
security
problem
purposes,
was.
you bet not walk her
I'm
ass
asking Scott, Mr.
past
Scott,
Kevin
did
after
you
what
hear what the
the hell
problem
he
was?
didn't probably figured out his
I did, yes.
sister
All right.
in pool.
Let's take that brief recess and then when you've got Mr.
Hell, if
Ellison to
Kevin,
come
if I was Kevin, I'd be walking and she'd be here. Cocktail Mary. I ain't no killer, but don't push me. Now. Ooh wee. Tracey. Both your kids are back to back. You going to prison. Tracey. Ooh. He finna tell the truth on your ass. Cause he can't get no deal. Maybe it'll look better for him for the board when it's time for him to go up there. But he got a while before he can do that. And he must not be planning to appeal because they can use his testimony against him for the appeal. What is, oh, he might have an axe to grind. This is a different kind of, well, his attorney gonna be present, so maybe his attorney gonna throw some objections out there himself or something. This a mess. This a mess, real. This a mess. I need to hear from Tara Lynn. Tara Lynn need to carry her ass to the stand. I have questions myself for Tara Lynn. Ooh. They can't charge him with double jeopardy. He can admit to conspiracy. Or he can say, my mom and my sister was down there. I was up in my room. They came and told me that he was on his way and he was going to take us all out. And I protected the house. Because out of 4 failed marriages, ain't not a man left in that son of a sucker but me. Thanks to my mama. Oh, I'd read her for filth. I'd read her for filth. I would. Mm, 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 mm. Mm. Oh goodness, I'm sorry if y'all can hear Big Unky out there playing the game while he on break. Y'all know he only get a piece of a break by the hour on Wednesdays because every Wednesday is early release, so he gonna have to go. So I'll mute if y'all can hear him. Let him get a little woosah after dealing with all them people kids. Mm. He must not be cold because he ignored me. He's actually all the way in the living room, but it echoes through the hallway because I got my office door open. You playing too? Listen, he out there chilling. Let him have his moment, honey. He told his kids he was gonna let them have some candy this week because they have been doing good. And all of a sudden, somebody hit somebody with a damn Stanley Cup yesterday, and he was fit to be tied. He was upset, child. Can't believe they pulled that. Can't believe they played me. Dallas was doing something yesterday, y'all, and he was talking to Big Unc, and he said, "Okay, Mr. Q." I said, "Who's Mr. Q?" He said, "That's Dad's name on the bus." I said, "Okay, then." Was she? Not they wedding pictures. Ugh. He didn't, and the crazy thing is, I'm sure he didn't even know she was crazy. Right. I said, "Who was that?" I know they. Yeah, he had to step off the bus to talk to a teacher or something, he said. And when he did, he said he got back on and somebody had bust somebody else upside the head. He said, "Oh, I step off the bus and y'all just." I said, "Oh, yeah," he felt completely played. He said, "Oh, no, y'all didn't act like y'all ain't got no sense, like y'all don't know how to act on my bus." I said, "Lord." I said, "Well, just give the candy to the folks who didn't have a problem." Yes, Miss Big Uncle's down there on the game. No, they're doing a presto changeo because they got to do an escort coordination of escorting prisoners. Because up next is Mr. Kevin Ellis.
Alice, I'm going to have them put you over in the jury box there.
He was on another floor, so they had to get him down there. So we back. Woo! Them shackles is no joke. I hate that sound.
Mr. Williams,
Hate this.
as you probably just gathered, your client is present in the courtroom. He's sitting in the jury box right now. I'll turn the time over to the state and then to you, and then Mr. Facebar, if you have anything you wish to put on the record. Who's taking over for this? Mr. Palmer?
I'll take this one, Judge. Thank you. Your Honor, as the court knows, Mr. Ellis was a named co-defendant of Ms. Grist. He has already had his trial where he was convicted. The state would be interested in calling Mr. Ellis in this case. However, we have been informed by Mr. Williams' attorney that Mr. Ellis will assert his Fifth Amendment privilege.
And shit, that's right, Kevin.
In this case, we previously discussed in motion work, specifically citing Mangrum and Benson on Utah Evidence Rule 804, that a valid claim of privilege by a privilege holder or a representative on his or her behalf is sufficient to establish unavailability. So the main reason we are here today, Judge, is I believe we can have Mr. Williams assert the privilege on Mr. Ellis's behalf. He can make whatever proffer he wishes to make about that. I do suggest that we have the benefit of the record here and the court then just simply ask Mr. Ellis if that's accurate, that he intends to assert the privilege Mr. Williams will assert on his behalf.
Mr. Williams.
That's correct, Your Honor. I've informed Mr. Ellis of his rights. He is currently perfected a notice of appeal. In his particular case, I believe he clearly has a Fifth Amendment right that he can assert. And consistent with my advice, it is intention to assert that Fifth Amendment right in blanket fashion. He would assert that to any question asked of him by the prosecution or any other attorney in this proceeding.
Thank you. Is that good? Is the state offering any immunity, or Mr. Pomeroy?
The state is not offering immunity, Your Honor, but for the record, it's my understanding that in the hypothetical case that were we to offer that immunity, Mr. Ellis would still elect to not testify, even if the court ordered him to do so. And I believe, again, that Mr. Williams could proffer that.
Mr. Williams?
I believe that would be the case. I appreciate and agree, however, with the state that the invocation of his Fifth Amendment right does not require them to then provide immunity and subject him to the potential penalty that might be associated with a contempt finding, and that we are not to that stage, and appreciate not having to get to that stage. But were they to provide immunity, yes, my understanding is this would not be related by advice, of course, but that he would not answer questions anyway.
All right, thank you.
I'd
Mr.
be
Ellis,
mad
do you wish
too,
to
Kevin.
abide by your client's, or excuse me, your attorney's advice and assert your Fifth Amendment rights?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you. All right, the record reflect Mr. Ellis is asserting his Fifth Amendment rights as advised by his counsel. Anything else you wish to put on the record, Mr. Pomeroy?
We're good for now, Judge. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Facemer, anything on behalf of the defense you wish to put on the record?
Nothing, Judge.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, anything else we should discuss before recess for lunch today?
Can I approach?
Can I be excused?
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yes, counsel, come forward.
Kevin said, I'm asserting in the fifth way, blanketed about everything. Don't ask me nothing. Ain't got nothing to say, immunity or otherwise. Don't give a damn. See you later. I'm with him, no. Like, if I would appeal the hell out of it. They didn't say it was a conspiracy. I mean, I don't know what else you're going to be able to do, because you popped the hell out of him 7 times, but you're not going to be able to use the excuse that my mama told me that I was. How old are you? Grown in years. I plead the fifth. We learned how to do that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we know.
All right, Mr. Pomeroy.
Thank you, Your Honor. As the court knows, we previously filed a motion to admit certain evidence subject to Rule 804 for when a witness is unavailable. We're asking the court now, based off of the invocation of privilege, to find that Mr. Ellis has asserted his Fifth Amendment privilege, and Mr. Ellis is now an unavailable witness pursuant to that rule and its exceptions.
Mr. Facemer, anything from the defense?
Nothing, Your Honor. It's been briefed and discussed and anticipated how it would go.
All right, thank you. All right, so as the court had discussed with the parties in chambers on the first day of trial, with us moving to this point today, I will find that the defendant is an unavailable witness based upon his exercising of his Fifth Amendment rights in totality. I think there's a few cases that allow us to move forward with the proposed testimony or the recording that we're going to use that I've referenced. And also getting to that point is U.S. versus Small 605 F3D 765, and then Salt Lake City versus Rocky Chad Williams, that's 2005 Utah Act 493, discussing the use of these out-of-court statements that were made by Mr. Ellis. So with that in mind, that'll be the order. The court, there won't be a written ruling as much as we're in the middle of the trial. I think it's pretty clear where we are at this point. Anything else, Mr. Pomeroy?
Could we please release Mr. Ellis from his subpoena?
Any objection, Mr. Facemer?
No objection.
All right, so Mr. Ellis will be released from his subpoena as well. Anything else we need to put on the record before we take our lunch break?
No, Judge.
All right, Mr. Facemer, anything else from you for the record? Anything else you need to put on the record before we take our lunch break? All right, the doors will be open about 1:15. I'll see everybody back just before then with the goal of starting at 1:30. We're in recess.
All right.
All right, so we are officially on lunch. We are officially on lunch. Yes, hit the like. If you have not already, just a heads up, not today, but somewhere around April 22nd, 23rd, when they start to put in a testimony or start to get a testimony in Julio Fulio Saga Part 2, Florida versus Gathright, Chance, Murphy, and Murphy in Florida, that will be solely streamed on Twitch, okay? Possibly Facebook if we put this page together, but solely streamed on Twitch, okay? So if you don't have an account yet, but you want to watch that particular trial with us live, you can go to my TikTok account where you will see the recaps for Utah versus Grist. I'm sorry. Why do I have Florida versus Grist in here? This is Utah versus Grist. I didn't see my own mistake. So Utah versus Grist, and we will. I have not heard any word on Corey's financial trial. Not yet. But we will come back after lunch, which he said they'll be back, open up the doors at 1:15, start at 1:30. Now that is 1:30 Mountain Standard Time, so that'll be 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? So 12:30 for us on the Pacific side of things, 3:30 for everybody on the east side of things, and we'll be right back after that. See y'all after lunch.